By the time I get out of 2018, you don't won NFL MVP, everything, and then it's like I missed it. It's like a big blur. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. But you get out and you're like, what the hell? Tom Brady's still really good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Thursday. It's October 5th. I'm going to be in D.C. tonight. Very excited about that. If anybody's going to be at the Commanders game, coming out, say hi at the part of my cheesesteak stand. I've got $20,000 worth of Darius Rucker-themed Washington Commanders gear that I'm going to be giving away. Actually, not that much, but I told a little bit of this story on part of my take yesterday. But to unpack it, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, if I get served a targeted ad on anything, I'm like 20 times more likely to purchase it if I'm coming out of that zone of being asleep. I don't know if you guys are the same way. It takes me a good 30 minutes to get my bearings straight, to get out of that like impulsive zone that you get in, which is why I try not to go online much in the first 30 minutes that I wake up. You don't want to make any bad decisions. If you take one bad step on the internet, who knows where that's going to lead you. So I got a targeted ad for Darius Rucker NFL Fanatics collaboration gear, right? And I was like, what the hell is Darius Rucker doing making an official NFL collab? And I checked out the merch. It was fire. So I got a bunch of it for like Big Cat and Hank. And then I talked about it on the show. One of the representatives from Fanatics from the Darius Rucker line heard that, reached out and was like, hey, I want to send you some Commanders gear too. Is that all right if we send some to your office? I was like, absolutely. What size are you? He was, I'm a medium. So I come in on Sunday and I have an entire pallet's worth of boxes, and I open them up and there's probably 20 pieces of merch in every single box. And it's 20 different versions or 20 different individual items of every clothing item that they have. So it's just an insane amount of medium-sized Washington Commanders Darius Rucker themed merch. And so I'm going to be taking some of that with me to DC, giving them out if you're at the Commies game tonight. Commies versus Bears Thursday night, a tradition unlike any other.
What does the Darius Rucker Commanders stuff look like?
There's a wide variety of it, Big T. There's a plaid shirt that says Commanders on it. There is a couple hoodies, a couple sweatshirts, some T-shirts that are in there too. I did the math, and it was probably about $20,000 worth of merch that they accidentally sent me. So I'm sending most of it back to them, but I am bringing some to DC to give away. Very excited about that. But yeah, it is. It's October 5th. True Strange.
It's here.
Okay.
The zombies. We're going to turn into zombies.
We're here. We're going to turn into zombies.
It happened.
Okay. Breaking news. This is a test of the National Wireless Emergency Alert System. The purpose is to maintain and improve alert and warning capabilities at the federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial levels to evaluate the nation's public alert and warning capabilities. No action is required by the public. Does anybody feel different?
Does anyone vaccinated feel like a zombie?
Billy,
You're
you're vaccinated.
Well, I sucked it out. I sucked it out my shoulder. I went,
Billy's
it was like a snake bite.
Also, I thought for a second, because mine didn't go off for like 10 seconds after y'all's, I thought my phone was going to be built different because I have like Amber Alerts and all that shit turned off.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
I thought I
fucked up.
wasn't going to get it, but I got it.
You have Amber Alerts turned off?
Yeah,
You opted out of
me too.
Amber?
absolutely.
What?
Why?
What if you saw the kid?
What the fuck? I'm never gonna do. It's never gonna happen.
You never think that you. Never
I have
think that you
all
could possibly see the kid.
notifications except text messages and phone calls turned off.
You really think you're gonna be the taken guy and you're gonna go for? It's not gonna happen. There's millions of people, and
Dude.
even if I was to see a blue Ford Mustang, I'm not gonna pull him over. Like, it's not,
What about call 911 and tell them that you saw the Mustang? The reason you get those alerts is because you're close to where it's happening.
I don't get them.
If it ever gets to a point that they're texting you about it, you've seen it on Twitter and on the news and stuff.
No, you haven't. I just that's like
I don't know.
that. The way I'm reacting is like you guys not being organ donors. I feel the same reason. Like it's just fucked up.
It's not at all.
It is. It's just like not being an organ donor.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Here's the thing about Amber Alerts. I think it's a great idea in theory, but every time I've gotten Amber Alert, it's been from like a city that's 2 hours plus away from me.
Because the person might be coming towards you.
They might be driving. I like the ones on highways. That makes sense where it says
Yeah.
looking for this car or missing elderly. I think that's like a silver alert that happens.
Also,
I like them playing the percentages, but like the odds of me seeing an alert and saying look for a blue whatever car, I was like, odds of me retaining that information while I'm driving or going back, it's not
correct.
gonna happen.
Everyone
so
that gets those forgets it immediately.
Yeah, it's just not gonna happen. Like I think it's a horrible thing that happens, but I'm not gonna solve the crime. It's probably not gonna happen. So
kind of problematic though that I have my ringer off and it still had that crazy beep. It was pretty unconsensual.
no, they said that even if you have it, the only way to not have it is to turn your phone off. That's what they said 120, didn't they?
Yeah, they kind of did premature.
118. Like, what's up with the pre-fire?
Well, they wanted to make sure that everyone got the 5G beamed directly into their brains. No, it's like alt-right Twitter has been saying that there's about to be a zombie apocalypse because the 5G is going to activate something in the vaccines and make people turn into zombies, which is hilarious. I don't know. Did we check outside?
You're vaccinated. Just look at yourself. Are you a zombie?
It's hilarious that people actually like think that might happen.
I mean,
do people actually think that, or is it?
Dude,
I have a question about some of these theories. Do people actually believe them, or is it just fun to believe them and talk about them?
It's fun.
I think
it's fun.
I think most people just think that it's fun to talk about, and if you put a gun to their head and ask them, "Hey, do you think that they're actually going to turn you into a zombie with the emergency alert system?" They would be like, "No, I'm just having fun online."
Yes.
Billy's very tuned in with these things that he's like, he tells us, and then he's like, it's not true, but like, haha, what if it was? And he's always the one that knows about them.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah, because
it's like we're not going to kiss, but like, what if we did?
Yeah.
But like, we're not.
No, it's a trending topic. It's like zombies is in the top like 15 things trending right now because there's literally that many people tweeting about a possible zombie apocalypse because they think it's kind of pertinent.
Did you actually think like was there any percentage of you that thought that they were doing something to mess with the restructured RNA?
No, because we already had one of these tests in 2021. They test it every 2 years.
Okay, but was it the same? I feel like
I don't remember that. I don't remember this test.
They made.
Yeah, I don't ever remember that either.
Well, apparently they did it.
They said it. They said they did it, but I don't remember it though. I could be wrong.
It's just funny that there's like actually people who think there's gonna be a zombie apocalypse. It's kind of like Y2K, just on a smaller scale.
I'm trying to look.
That was like a real that was a real thing though.
Yeah, so Y2K was a real issue. Now it didn't have the crazy ramifications that some people predicted, but that's only because we did something to stop it. Because like the computer coding thing was serious. They had only coded it to be a 2-digit thing, so all the nation's computers, all the world's computers were going to think that it was all of a sudden 1900.
That is crazy that computers were invented. I mean, they existed in, the size of this room, but like for the most part, pretty close to 2000, relatively speaking, in the 60s. And they didn't think ahead for that.
Now, wait, did we do it again, though, when we upgraded the computers and we made it a 4-digit coded system? Have we ever thought what happens when it comes to the year 10,000?
Well, like, that's understandable. That's so far in the future, it doesn't matter.
That's what they thought in the 1960s.
Guys, I mean,
it's 30, 40 years.
But like, as we saw, that didn't matter. Like, our computers can count to greater amounts of digits.
But they're all coded in to be 4 digits right now. That'd be wild if we got to the year 9,999. We're like, oh shit, because at that point we'll be like half computer anyways.
Honestly,
so everyone's gonna die.
The 5G messing with something in the vaccine is probably way more believable than a computer not being able to count past certain digits.
It literally happened though, Billy.
It didn't. That was the whole thing.
It did happen in Yes, computers were not able to count past 2 digits on the years.
No, it wasn't.
They could, yes, they could count further than that, but the whole thing of Y2K was all the year fields on every computer system in the world was run on 2 digits.
But that's just
so they had to upgrade all of them.
Well, I don't think they actually did anything. I think actual computer scientists knew that it was all BS, just like this 5G thing.
No, I don't think that you're right on that.
No, I think I am. I think computer scientists knew the whole time that it was going to be fine.
No, that people actually had to revamp all their computer systems.
I think those are the people who prevented that from
Yeah, they
happening.
stopped it. It's not like it just all. It's not
No,
like we
I
got
don't-
to.
wait.
It's not like we got to December 31st, 1999, and we're like, oh shit, I hope this all works out, and didn't do anything.
I
No,
actually
because-
don't know. I'm neutral. I just remember it being a very big deal. I don't like this zombie shit is not a big deal, but I remember it being like a very big deal. It was like, yo, this is a serious deal. It
Okay.
was like on news and shit. But I don't know enough about. I wasn't on the internet. I wasn't plugged in back then.
Okay, so basically in the programs that only use 2-digit systems, like they expanded it in government
Yeah,
just in case, but in the systems that only had 2 digits, nothing went wrong. It just went to 000.
so but they know that it's not 000.
Yeah.
It just automatically added a third digit onto it.
No, it didn't add a third digit. It just went to 000. Yeah.
But that was the point. The point was like there was a real scare. Like it was.
Right.
a
It was.
thing.
They thought something was like there was going to be a crash or something, but they updated.
Yes.
The simple solution was best. The date was simply expanded to a 4-digit
Yes,
number.
it was expanded. Yes,
But only
they expanded
governments in the United States and the United Kingdom. In the end, there was very few problems. The nuclear energy facility in Japan had some of its radiation equipment fail, but backup facilities ensured there was no threat. The missile launches were planned ahead of time. Oh, the U.S. detected missile launches in Russia that they thought the Y2K bug. So countries such as Italy, Russia, and South Korea had done nothing to prepare for Y2K, and they had no more technological problems. So it was like,
but people thought like it was a scare. It wasn't not like
yeah, it was a scare, but it was completely unfounded
that's
because
not-
like
No, Billy, they
That's
did.
not true.
Okay, if you look
they
at
did something, but it didn't affect anything.
if you look at the programming solutions,
Yeah,
You
they-
can't say it didn't affect anything because you
Yeah.
don't know unless they would have done
countries
nothing.
such as Russia had done nothing.
Didn't you just
and
say
nothing
Russia
happened.
had like a nuclear missile?
Well, those were planned before. That's what they were
you're saying it wasn't founded on it.
I can't believe.
that's not true.
I'm saying that nothing happened. Like computer scientists
we
knew that nothing.
we
was
are
gonna happen.
well aware that nothing happened.
I can't
but
believe I'm
at the
the one
time-
arguing against the conspiracy right now.
no, Billy, the Y2K
This
thing
is not.
was
It wasn't
not,
a conspiracy.
was not a
It was
conspiracy.
a real
There was an
thing.
actual
Yeah.
You just
problem.
said. You just said.
What do you think?
You just said somebody's nuclear codes failed or whatever the case may be. There were ramifications that they prepared for of changing. There was a real thing. This is not a conspiracy. There was a real thing.
The conspiracy was that everything was going to shut down. They were scared it was going to happen. That was completely unfounded. Computer scientists knew that.
That wasn't the conspiracy. Was everything was shut down. The conspiracy was, which is I wouldn't even label it conspiracy. It was a warning that we don't know exactly what's going to happen. So it was going to be like, could have had mass system failure, could have had bank shit going crazy. We don't know, but they prepared for it and they assured us that nothing was going to happen. It wasn't like there's 5G towers infiltrating the brain. That's nowhere near the same thing.
Most people dismiss the Y2K bug as a hoax because nothing. People who were in the know knew that nothing was going to happen, but the U.S. government changed their systems under suspicion because of lawmakers. But like places like I just said, Russia, South Korea, Italy did nothing to prepare and nothing happened.
I think you've invented this conspiracy. Like what?
It was a hoax. Nothing, even though they expanded it, nothing was going to happen anyway.
I don't think you could say nothing was going to happen anyway, because a lot of stuff did happen from people that didn't do anything, and the United States government updated like all their federally run computer systems to make sure like Social Security was going to get paid out on time, the court system wasn't going to collapse. There was a lot of stuff that people prepared for. Nobody thought it was going to turn people into zombies.
Right. But it was a scare. It wasn't as bad as everyone thought.
Right, because we prepared for it, is what I'm saying.
But the countries that did
like all the airlines, they had to update everything to the point where the CEOs of major airlines were like, I'm going to be in an airplane at the stroke of midnight to show you that we've taken every precaution and that we're good to go.
Okay.
I mean, I lived through it.
Maybe I'm just saying in retrospect.
Yeah, nothing that bad happened. But you also said like it's more likely that 5G is going to activate the vaccine and turn us into zombies than it was that Y2K was going to cause
every
problems.
computer can count.
Correct.
I don't even know what we're arguing anymore.
Well, you guys just like disagreeing with me.
No, you always
That's
do
true.
bait and switch.
That's
bullshit.
yeah.
It's
a bait-
partially
you-
true.
No, you always do bait and switch. Like you always like say some shit,
Ooh.
get kind of proven wrong. Like, well, that's not 100% what I said, and then just have like some kind of fallback. Nah.
Yes, I'm totally calculated enough to move the needle like that.
No, you
So-
just hate saying you're wrong. You hate that.
No,
shit.
I'm just like whatever.
All right, so the total cost surpassed $300 billion to prepare for it. So there was
So it's like a quarter of a Ukraine. That's fine.
$300 billion worth of work went into funding the Y2K upgrade.
All
so
I'm saying is
that Billy, you have to admit, wait, Billy,
Stuff was done.
wait, Billy, you're not waiting.
Right.
$300 billion was spent upgrading computer systems in order to prevent failures.
right.
They probably did a lot of important work that alleviated some of the problems that would have happened.
All I'm saying is the countries that did nothing didn't blow up.
See,
like,
that's the
and
bait
have
and
some
switch. That's the bait
crazy,
and switch.
have some
There it
crazy.
is.
No. I think that if the U.S. did nothing, they would have been just like the countries that did nothing, and nothing happened.
Except we have so many nuclear weapons, and we're also the leading force in the world, and our economy drove the world at that point. So if anything bad happened, it would have affected like literally everyone. It's probably good that we put in some money on it. I would like to see Billy in 1999 being like,
No, I'd probably be
you
totally.
you would have been
like,
the first person to say like, my body's going to melt. Okay, so we're fine though. I think we're fine. Billy's brain might have been activated by the.
What year were you
emergency.
born?
99.
Oh.
He was really plugged in 99 to the whole Y2K thing.
I can't believe I'm the one that's saying that Y2K was like a load of baloney.
Well, because we fixed
But
it.
it's not a conspiracy. It
That's
was
how I
a
was
problem that needed to be fixed.
Can we just talk about something else? Thank God we're all not zombies.
All right, so year 9,999, we're all fucked because computers have only been upgraded to 4 digits.
We will do if that were to happen, we'd do nothing and be fine.
Okay. All right. Sometimes doing nothing is actually just the easiest and just hoping. All right, we got to shake up, boys. We got to shake up in the halls of Congress. I want to get Big T's feedback on this. Kevin McCarthy, House Speaker, you're out of here. His tenure lasted, I'm trying to figure out how many Scaramucci's he lasted. Not very long. But they got him out the
few
paint.
Scaramucci's, though.
Not quite
9 or 10.
Not quite an Urban Meyer,
Yeah.
but more than
The mooch was what, 2 weeks?
something like that.
He was probably, 6 months or so,
That sounds-
McCarthy?
That sounds right.
So like 12 mooches.
They got him out the paint. He tweeted at Matt Gaetz the other day, "Bring it on."
Yeah,
What are you gonna do? Stab me?
our old friend Bailey Carlin, posted the "What are you gonna do? Stab me."
That's a
Man
classic,
who got stabbed.
classic meme. Bring it on, and then it got brought, and now he's out, and now the streets are saying President Speaker Donald Trump might be next in line.
That'd be awesome.
Well, so there's no rule that says that you have to be in Congress to be Speaker of the House. It could be anybody. It could be you, Big T.
You don't have to be a judge to be on the Supreme Court either.
That to me is fucked up, isn't it?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Do you need a law degree?
Nope.
What?
you just get nominated and confirmed. Now, my guess is they probably wouldn't confirm you if you didn't have a law degree.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of justices that have gotten confirmed despite the fact that they haven't worked as judges for very long, or they haven't, taken more than just a handful of cases, like in a trial situation. So it is possible. It's definitely possible for anybody to be a Supreme Court justice. But I do think that there's a law on the books that you can't be Speaker of the House according to House rules if you're under indictment. If you've been indicted for a felony in the last, I think 2 years.
Oh, so Trump can't be.
I don't think that, but they could also just change that rule because they make their own rules.
Speaking also of Trump and indicted, did you see his quote the other day
No.
of "Let's indict the motherfucker"? You need to go watch that video. It's peak Trump. He's back. He's back.
I don't like Ozempic Trump. Not enough gravitas.
No,
for me.
he's back. He was talking about, what are you going to do when your opponent's up 20 points in the polls or whatever? Let's indict the motherfucker.
Oh my God.
Let's indict him. It's so good. He's back.
So
He's back.
I found the 3 most underqualified Supreme Court justices. James F. Burns, who served from 41 to 42, did not graduate from high school, taught himself law and passed the bar, but never served as a judge before being appointed to the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas had only been a judge for 2 years, and Amy Coney Barrett had only been a judge for 3 years. So this James F. Burns guy is the only one who's
a judge or a federal judge.
He never served as a judge. Yeah,
That's crazy to me.
yeah.
It's
but that was during
that's a
World
pretty
War
big
II.
part of the job. Now he's Crooked Joe? I thought he was Sleepy Joe.
Well,
I'm confused.
now the indictments have made him crooked.
Got it. Okay, got it. So he crossed over into
Also, and Hillary, she's no longer.
yeah.
That nickname was retired.
Isn't it kind of sad that like two of the leading presidential candidates are just both under legal problems? Isn't that kind of like not using it for good?
Is Biden under legal problems? Hunter is.
Well, he's also wrapped up in that.
Is he? Because they did like an
The big
entire.
man. He's the big man.
They did an entire impeachment inquiry, and they were like, "Well, we don't really have anything."
Wrapped up. When I said wrapped up, that was loosely affiliated to a case.
Billy, man.
One guy has like 50 indictments pending against him.
Everyone's dirty. Everyone's crooked.
and the other guy's son
Not
sucks.
the fake.
The big man was getting
His son is
kickbacks.
a fucking crackhead.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want to be seen as giving an endorsement to Joe Biden because I do think that
But
he
you
sucks.
will.
I do think that he sucks.
It's not even that Hunter's addicted to crack. It's just that he's getting millions of dollars to sway U.S. policy. That's what pisses me
You think
off.
he's done a pretty good job of swaying U.S. policy?
Addicts,
What policy?
every
did he
family
sway?
has. I'm not going to get into this. Next question.
Next
It
question.
wasn't a
But
question.
you
it was
wanted
it was
to
a
get into
statement
it.
by you. You brought up.
No, it's on record that he's had foreign corporations give him money to help sway U.S. policy in various regions. There was like a whole Chinese oil company that paid for the U.S. to sell them oil, I think.
Okay.
So China got paid Hunter Biden for Joe Biden to trade oil to a piece of what part of China?
Probably. Okay, so I'll find the specifics
Okay. Billy's
at a
gonna
later date so
Billy's
that
gonna do
we
some
can-
research on it.
so we
I mean,
can't-
I don't
come
even
back
know,
with
but
facts.
it sounds like bullshit. But I would like to know if Hunter Biden is directing foreign policy. I would like to know that.
Don't get me wrong. If I lived in a different country and I was like an energy trader and had a vast, resource of like natural gas or something that was trying to export to the United States and open up a new market, am I going to give the president's son a $500,000 salary to do a bullshit job, and then I get to have conversations with him once every like couple months? Absolutely, yes, I'm going to do that. Welcome to international commerce. That's kind of the way that crony capitalism works. So like I have no doubt about that. I just don't know if Joe was taking any actual like advice from his crackhead son.
He denies it, but it has to do with WhatsApp texts between businessman Henry Zhao, who is a CCP member,
Mhm.
and Hunter Biden.
Okay, so his son was getting texts from a CCP guy, but we don't know.
And during the time, he claims the big man was sitting right next to him. So who could be the big man?
Mhm.
We don't know.
Also, riddle me this, Billy. If you were Hunter Biden and you were getting $500,000 a year, just so that people could try to get close to your dad, would you tell them frequently, "Yeah, I'm actually sitting right next to him," when you weren't? Probably. I would probably do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. And they had the impeachment inquiry, and that seemed to go nowhere because I followed up on that. I read every article that came about the impeachment inquiry because I want to see if there was any actual dirt on him. And
Was
even
there any
the people that
evidence?
No, even the people that were running it were like, "Yeah, we don't have anything direct, which is why we need to get access to Joe Biden's bank accounts to see if there's anything that we need to look into." Which, by the way, I'm actually
I'm
in
okay with
favor.
that.
I'm okay with that across the board for any president.
Yeah, all you motherfuckers, everybody involved, every person in the House, the Senate, Supreme Court justices. Let's audit the whole fucking place. I'm down with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Let's audit all their like stock picking. I mean,
I want to
I
get
guess.
my hands on Nancy Pelosi's
Yes.
Barstool Sportsbook account
And-
and see what futures she's putting in. I want to see who she's got winning the Super Bowl, who she's got winning Comeback Player of the Year. If she put what if she put a massive future on DeMar Hamlin winning comeback player of the year next year, and she did it like a year ago, and this whole thing has been set up. I think we deserve to know the facts.
Okay, it's very different.
That's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
But like AOC and Matt Gaetz actually collaborate on a bill to stop
It's hot.
members of Congress,
That's so hot.
like them collaborating.
I'm not going to believe that they're collaborating until I see a sex tape between them. I need to see P and V.
You pervert.
Matt Gaetz and AOC on a live stream.
Honestly, I just need to see them kiss.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Just
to
a
see.
smooch. Do you think that people in Congress have crushes on each other?
Wow.
Yeah.
It's got to be like high school, right?
People like that definitely try to like
Of course.
fuck each other in the workplace type stuff.
Yeah.
If they're that power hungry, they're definitely like.
I mean, you saw what Bobert was doing at Beetlejuice in Denver. Imagine what she's doing in DC.
Yeah. You think she's ever given like OTPHJs on the floor of Congress?
Not on the floor, but I mean, once you get into the office building,
Yeah.
all bets are off.
That's true. One of the most secure buildings in the world. You can lock your door. No live streams going from there. I bet you they're hooking up. I bet you they're hooking up big time.
Who do you
That's the one
think
thing I
if
know about humans? People be fucking.
Yeah.
everywhere.
who's your top three that Lauren Boebert would be hooking up with in Congress?
Okay.
Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz, probably. Yeah, they seem to spend a lot of time around each other. Let's see who else.
There's a Democratic. He's not in Congress anymore, right? The eye patch. What's his name?
Crenshaw.
Is he still in Congress?
He's Republican.
He's
I know.
not Democrat.
Yeah.
No, I was talking. No. I was starting to talk about somebody else, and then Madeline mentioned Crenshaw.
Oh,
there's
okay,
a
my bad.
Democratic congressman who's on TikTok, and he's like a really young guy, and he seems to like the spotlight a lot. He seems like somebody he and Boebert might. I forget
Yeah.
his name.
Oh, I just liked his video today because he was telling me about how the Speaker of the House got kicked out. Nick Jackson, I think.
It's not Jackson,
Wait,
but
hold
it's
on.
something.
It's right here.
So
I think
Jeff
that
Jackson.
Jeff Jackson.
He's so handsome.
I think Madison Cawthorn, when he was in Congress, the guy from North Carolina.
Mhm.
oh yeah,
Is that the one that looks like Billy?
That's the
Yes.
He looks a little bit like Bill. A little bit like Billy.
Someone said that.
I think she probably hooked up with him a few times. If she's hooking up with anybody, I'm saying. I think that George Santos would be like, "Hey, I'm straight." He would like lie to her.
Did you see the big George Santos news the other day?
what?
He hard launched.
Hard launch what?
He tweeted,
Like a relationship?
my husband and I are when Dianne Feinstein died.
Mm-hmm.
He tweeted like, my husband and I are so saddened to hear of Senator Feinstein's passing, whatever. And like he had never mentioned that ever before.
I have a feeling that he married someone who could
wow.
directly testify against him, and so that he couldn't testify against him. That would be such a Santos move
But
to
the
marry a straight
comments
guy
on
who-
that tweet are hysterical.
No, but think about it. Like, you know that whole rule where you can't testify against your spouse?
Yeah.
He just does that to ensure he doesn't go to jail
Yeah.
with the one person who could say he was involved in a Ponzi scheme.
What rule? You can't testify against your spouse? What rule is that?
I don't know if that's
You can't be
wives' tale.
compelled to testify against your spouse.
Yes. So you're allowed to testify against your spouse, but they can't force you to unless there's a couple rules behind it. I'm trying to remember my education via The Sopranos when Adriana tried to marry Christopher, so she wouldn't have to testify against him. I think it's that if you were witness to or part of the crimes that were being committed, you can be compelled to testify. So you can't
When
just
they say
get married,
compelled, what does that actually mean?
Forced.
forced to testify.
So like following subpoena.
Yeah, and I think anything that you do before you get actually married, I think you can be compelled to testify about that as well. It's kind of like a lawyer. If the lawyer participates in the commission of a crime, then it doesn't exist. Your lawyer can testify against you.
So right-wing Twitter is furious that the thing was 2 minutes early.
Oh, what happened? What's the explanation?
No,
for it?
because they're saying that they caught me off guard. I wasn't able to turn my phone on airplane mode, and they got me.
Oh, also, I bet there's a ton of people that were trying to live stream the whole thing,
Yeah.
and they were gonna like pretend to start twitching. Be like, look what it did to me. So they're upset that it happened early. They
Yeah,
didn't have
they're
their cameras
Oh,
out.
they got me.
Yeah, it's a good bit.
Yo, did y'all hear about this Trevor Bauer shit?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know who this was until 50 posted him. And so like he basically got me too, and then it came out that joint was lying, and he was like in the middle of like some big, he was about to get $100 million contract or something like that.
Not even just lying. She referred to him as her victim.
Yeah.
And like seems to have, completely made up the whole thing.
She claimed that he fractured her skull and gave the ER or the hospital all the symptoms of a cracked skull, like verbatim, but her tests read that she did not have a cracked skull like the x-rays showed, and then all the reporters ran with Trevor Bauer had cracked her skull.
She wasn't committed. She wasn't really committed to it.
Well, he also has a video of her in bed with him the morning after her skull was allegedly fractured, and she's like winking at the camera.
She's like, she
she's
took it
completely fine,
and she's smiling. She doesn't appear to be injured at all.
And then text messages to her homegirls. She was like, I'm gonna get part of this $50 million. And then one of her homegirls was like, you don't feel a little bit guilty? And she was like, nope.
Yeah,
her AA sponsor.
It seems to be like
crazy,
as cut and dry of a case of getting set up as anything that I've ever seen. And I think what happened, because I read up at the time, and I didn't want to say anything about the case as it was happening and as like they were disputing each other, because you never know what the actual facts are. You have to, like, it turns out we had to wait like 2 years to get any real facts in this case. But at the time, the medical report, she went to the hospital and they did not find a fracture in her skull. But on one of the medical reports that I saw, it said like she complained of symptoms consistent with a skull fracture. So she could have said like my neck hurts or the bottom of my head hurts really badly. Or she could have Googled or gone to WebMD and see like symptoms of skull fracture, and then just said like, oh, I'm having trouble concentrating. And then in the medical report, somebody could write down symptoms consistent with, but then you have to look further and be like, oh, they did an X-ray and MRI. They didn't find anything. So it's like kind of malpractice on part of the people that wrote it up. And it sucks that I think he ended up, he was due to make like $50 million a year?
Well, he had signed a big contract with the Dodgers. I don't remember how many years it was for because he was notorious for signing 1-year deals.
Yeah.
But I think he did sign a multi-year deal with the Dodgers, played 1 year under it, and then this happened.
Yeah. So, Arian, a lot of people don't like Trevor Bauer. They didn't like him before the story came out. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He's a weird, eccentric dude. He does a lot of really strange stuff, but he's just like he's a baseball weirdo. I think at one point we described him as like if Reddit was a human being, because he loves to troll.
Yeah.
He's a big troll. Like he wrote one time into his contract that he wanted to be paid X million dollars and X million dollars plus 420 and 69 cents. Like as a joke, he wrote that into his contract, and he wrote like BD 911 on the mound one time. Which stood for Bush did 9/11. And so he does a bunch of stuff to fuck with people, and a lot of people in baseball media don't like him. In fact, he was one of the first guys that actually was all over that spin rate shit, like accusing the Astros of cheating. He was really into like proving to baseball, hey, there are people that are pitching right now that are cheating. I can prove it, and to doubly prove it, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to start cheating. My spin rate's going to be way higher. And you're going to know exactly what happened, but I'm doing it to prove a point. And so a lot of baseball people already don't like
cool
him.
Though, because he was right, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was right.
Oh yeah,
he was right. And he's been mean online to journalists. He's been mean online to fans of his or former fans of his. So people, when they saw this article, they were like, "Oh, well, it's definitely true. He absolutely 100% almost killed this woman during sex." It's like, wait, no, those two things don't directly translate to one another. Like you cannot like the guy and also not jump to conclusions on a lack of evidence that you have so far.
And I believe he got the longest suspension in the history of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The restraint it takes to like know you're being set up and just have to wait 2 years and be like, that's insane.
Yeah. And what sucks is for women who are actually sexually assaulted, now you've got like, this is such a big story that people are going to be like, oh, it's another Trevor Bauer situation, and she's making it up to try to get money from him. Like it actually does it 100% sucks for Trevor, who had to deal with this shit, for the last 2 years, walking around every day, and people are like, that dude is a sexual deviant, and like a violent one at that. But it also sucks for women that are going to have legitimate complaints in the future where nobody's going to believe him because of this story.
There's only one remedy, dog. The only remedy is to take the incentive out of suing people for money. That's the only way to remedy this shit, dog. It does nothing. It does nothing. And I know, like, being a victim of any kind of crime, it's horrible. But like, suing somebody and taking their money has nothing to do with the crime. You should want justice, but it is a deterrent to shit like this. Because if she has no incentive to do this unless there's monetary, and there's some monetary attached to it, unless she's trying to ruin his name. But that would I don't know, man. It's infuriating because, like, you can sue anybody for anything in America, and you got to pay your legal fees. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got sued for some shit I didn't do. It's infuriating because you're sitting there like, dog, this is all trash, and I got to sit here and defend this shit in court, and it's a 2-year process. It's fucking garbage, and like, we're just a cesspool. Humanity's a cesspool. It's dog shit.
But there is then examples like, I don't think he's going to, but Chaps got hit by a car today.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear about this?
No.
Chaps got hit on a car today coming to work.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's a little banged up.
Did he come into work?
Yeah, he came into work.
Okay, so he's not
built
like
different.
He's not like injured.
He might have left to go get checked out because he's pretty banged up, like his shoulder, a couple scrapes. He wrote a blog about it, so it's open knowledge. But Chaps was like, I was like, yo, did you get the guy's information? Like, and he goes, no, because, like, at the end of the day, I wouldn't sue. But at the same time, if a guy hits you with a car and you get hurt, and, their insurance is going to pay for it, and, like, you have medical bills, that's sort of grounds where I think
that makes sense.
Okay.
Medical bills make sense. Yeah. Anything past that is ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, logistically, future crimes, it don't make no sense.
But what about hypothetically, I don't think this is true. Traps has been through, but, like, he's now scared to ride to work, and now he has, like, I'm arguing, like, what's it called?
Hypothetical.
Mental distress.
Yeah.
Emotional distress. I mean,
does money make that better?
Like,
maybe.
I think to me that goes therapy, right? Okay, you pay for his future therapy.
Yeah,
that way, it ensures you're actually getting therapy rather than it's like child support. Child support is ridiculous as well because it's like it incentivizes the action. Because, like, if there was receipts, if you had to give receipts for your child support, if you had to give receipts for your therapy sessions, you would be less inclined to do this if it didn't happen because you're not getting the money for it. You know what I mean? And so it would deter people trying to fuck people over because, like, what am I gonna get out of it? I gotta go to court for 1.5 years. I gotta pay my own lawyer fees. Like, fuck that shit. I ain't gonna go through this. If it didn't happen, if it happened, then yeah, you should get your legal fees paid for, all that shit. But if not, to me, you're just setting up the precedent that, because I could sue PFT right now for anything. I could make this shit up, and he has to fight it, and that costs him money. It won't cost him, and he is a little higher wealth guy, right? So you have to get a good lawyer, and that an email from a lawyer costs $500, $200. Phone call talking about what we're gonna do next, another $500.
Yeah,
it just gets to the point. It's like, at what point is this shit okay to just sue people for nothing? Like, it's the whole system is fucking fraudulent.
Now that said, we still retain our right to sue the NFL for stealing the script and making that their centerpiece of their marketing campaign this season. I have contacted Mr. Portnoy, attorney at law, and we have retained his services. So Roger Goodell, what Arian just said, that applied person to person. Did not apply if a massive billion-dollar corporation steals your intellectual property.
I'm very emotionally distressed by that, and I wasn't even directly involved.
We'll just sue for the actual damages, the millions of dollars they've made off that, not any emotional damages.
Correct. Yeah. Emotionally, I'm fine. I'm hungry. I would like to eat better food, and so maybe if Goodell can give us,
I would like to eat the food that Roger Goodell's eating.
Yeah, I want Roger Goodell to order me lunch every day, and put Arian in one of the commercials.
That'd be funny.
These are my demands.
I think we deserve almost all the revenue from the NFL season because they advertise the NFL season with the script.
Season don't start without us.
Yeah.
Good point.
Imagine this commercial would be amazing. Get to the Super Bowl, whoever's in it. Let's say the 49ers and who's the best team in the AFC right now?
Bills.
Yeah, Bills.
Okay, 49ers and Bills. And like they're both sitting there. It's Josh Allen and Brock Purdy across the table. And Goodell's there and he's like, all right, guys, here we go. And then Arian walks in, plops down a big book on the table and sits down. It's an outstanding commercial.
It's
a great commercial. We got to make it happen.
Like you walk in, why did you make me in charge of this?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't really want to do it.
I like
but
that.
you do it.
I like that, Arian.
It's Big T's idea.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks.
I like that Big T.
Mm-hmm.
Watch them do it. They would fucking rip this exact but not
We're
have
fine
Arian.
with
They
them
make
using
it
as well. That's what would be funny though.
They make it Adrian Peterson, not Arian. Adrian.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Or they get an actor to play Arian.
That would actually be funny.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. He's wearing a Texans 23 jersey.
Yeah,
The Letterman jacket.
Default one.
It's me, Arian Foster. I'm an atheist. Boo, 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 boo.
Do a good impression.
My daughter's teacher. My daughter came home laughing. She was like, I guess a couple of kids. She was doing like some presentation. A couple of kids in her class. Was like she said Bobby Fino. She was doing like a project and she named like what I so I make music. And he goes, Bobby Fino, never heard of him. And I like a couple kids in class like, you don't know Bobby Fino? They were just like kind of playing. And he's like Arian Foster's my dad. He's like, oh, isn't he the famous atheist? And she was like,
there's worse things to be known for.
yeah, I'm all right with that.
Yeah. He's the guy that's going to go to hell.
Oh, he's gonna burn for eternity.
Yeah, I know that
what's
guy.
Up. Good luck with that.
Do your younger kids like even like know you as having played football, or do they say like he's a podcaster and musician?
No, they're aware because like my name is like kind of big in the city. It's like bigger in the city, I guess. And so like their peers let them know. You know what I mean? Like, and it's more so like I remember when I was growing up, like my dad did a training camp with the Denver Broncos, right? He had never played in the league, but like just that was enough prowess amongst my peers. Like, oh, your dad almost went to the NFL or played for the Bronco, right? And I'm like, hell yeah, like that was enough. So like their dad was actually like, no disrespect to my pops, but like their dad was like, I did it in the city, and so like it's more so that just kids like. Do you know Steph Curry? Did you ever meet LeBron James? Like that type of shit.
Yeah. Did you, when you were growing up, were you like, my dad could beat up your dad to everybody because he did almost play in the league?
Yeah, but my dad could probably beat up all their dads though. My dad's 6'4", like he was like 240. Like my dad was a hoss, bro.
Yeah, that's cool. I want to circle back real quick on the Trevor Bauer thing. One last thing on the Trevor Bauer situation. People in the media probably should have known when the judge threw out the restraining order. So it's it's very easy to get a restraining order, as I think it should be. If you go to a judge, you go to court and you claim like, hey, I'm in danger, I'm in fear for my life, this person is harassing me. A judge will typically, without much evidence required, grant that restraining order. Because it's a protective measure that they can take to maybe help somebody in a bad situation that doesn't have the time to go through weeks or months of the legal process. But the judge in this case threw out the restraining order and said, well, you've misrepresented evidence, you've lied, and you've done a bad job making your case to the court. That's a big red flag. If a judge says that, like directly says that a victim is misrepresenting the facts of the case and then removes the restraining order, people should have taken notice at that and said, something's not right. Something's not adding up here. But that's the last thing I wanted to toss in on that one.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, because that's insane to not get granted a restraining order is everything you need to know about that shit.
Yeah. What's up, Billy?
Alex Stein had the accuser on his show. I've seen some videos of the accuser, the alleged accuser, like popping up on TikToks of like her freaking out at Dodgers games, like people asking her to leave because she's like going nuts.
Okay.
So I was just looking up to see who she might be and if she did this to anybody else, because in her text, she said next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers.
Right.
So like, I mean, next victim implies a current victim.
Yeah.
So how many other people has she done this to? And can she be incriminated? Can she go to jail? Because that's also maybe another solution.
Filing false charges is definitely a crime. I think that's probably very difficult to prove in this situation.
Yeah,
though.
it ain't gonna be no immediate fix. It's just hard to like prosecute that.
Yeah, unless she's on camera, like a live stream the entire time for like weeks, plotting it, and then all the evidence. She also had a shitload of text messages that were never turned over to the defense, and that's where I think he found some of these. But yeah, I would imagine that proving filing false police charges is a very, very difficult thing to do. So that's, I mean, maybe it'll end up that way. Who knows? All right. What else do we want to get into? Because we're going to talk about the prison system today a little bit, and we've got a great guest, Big Fridge. Big Fridge is joining us.
Oh, did y'all see the y'all saw the what is this dude's name? Fridman, Brett Fridman, something Fridman, Lex Fridman.
Lex,
Oh,
Yeah. So he did a podcast with, I was about to say Mark Wahlberg, with what is it?
Zuckerberg?
Facebook Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
But it was like in Meta, and so like they had these VR goggles on, and it was like they recorded like what each of each other was seeing, and it was like real. He was like, yo, I feel like I'm sitting right next to you. So it's supposed to be super realistic, and it was like what they were calling like the future of like, digital communication, which was wild. I watched a portion of it, which it was crazy.
I'm watching it right now. Zuckerberg, it's tough to tell what's real Zuckerberg and what's AI Zuckerberg, not because the AI is that great. It's just that Zuckerberg normally looks like a robot. So it's hard. This is robot. This is robot Zuckerberg. And I'm pretty sure that.
Oh my God.
I think this is normal
No.
Friedman. Is that AI Friedman?
That's both AI Friedman.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if you remember that part in the Matrix where Neo first comes in and he's kind of getting explained to like, this is the Matrix. It kind of looks like that, like where you're like digitally, put together, and like an image of you is, transposed to, the other party. It looks very realistic. Like Lex Fridman is always like in a tie, and like he has like a regular shirt on and that. So, but it still looks like it's wild. Like, so if this is, like I said, if today's the worst AI is ever going to be, the future is going to be bananas, dog. All I could think of is all of the crazy shit that can come from this. It's going to be amazing.
Well, the whole meta gamble was that because of Zoom and, all the online like replacements of workplaces, that they were going to create like metaverse workplaces to replace the office. And that was the whole basis, to make it look realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of flopped at the moment. But now that technology's picked up, like if we did this podcast and it looked like that, and it looked like Arian was in the room with us and we could record that, would that be a better product for the consumer?
Yes.
Do you think so?
I think
yeah.
Maybe if we wanted to be cutting edge, we sort of look into this and see if we could do that. That may be very challenging on the tech end, but like, we might as well be the first. We might as well be the first podcast to try to like figure out how we can do that.
Okay, so explain to me
how.
how.
Figure it out and let us know.
I'll look into it.
So I'm looking at this right now. So it's the two of their faces on a black background, like talking to each other.
Those are generated. Those aren't real.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So how is that any better if we did that with Arian than looking at his face right now on a screen?
So it'll be a better experience for us, one, because it won't feel like it'll feel like I'm there with you. One, two, it's a black background, right? You could easily put a green screen, and to where like, we could do a podcast in Duluth and make it look very realistic for the viewer, especially specific like YouTube. I think it would be better for the audio listening of the podcast. maybe not so much, maybe not as much, but for the simple fact, I feel like our banter is like way better when I'm in studio with y'all. So if it feels like I'm in studio with y'all, it might change the dynamic. So
I agree
maybe.
with that. But in terms of looking at it, like I'd be curious to talk to just a bunch of different people because this one looks disconcerting to me. Like they're you can tell it's just slightly off and it looks weird.
Right.
And two, it's no different than just seeing them on a screen normally.
You're not wrong.
But like we could have a podcast at the bottom of the ocean on Mars. Also, reading facial
Would that
expressions.
be good? I think bottom of the ocean would be a bad podcast.
If we were down there,
It's too dark.
well, like we get a little lights.
Okay.
Maybe we do like in a coral reef,
Mm-hmm.
like at a reef and like a shark swims by.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
That'd be really cool. Also, facial expressions. I mean, doing the podcast remotely from New York, one of the things that I sort of thought was important was like to make sure the camera was set up in such a way where it was easy to read facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I was reading something about how kids who were doing Zoom school were progressing from like a emotional comprehension standpoint slower because they weren't in school picking up other kids' emotions and learning it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like that had like the same tells we learn as children might be harder for us to pick up on when we're on Zoom.
So are you progressing slower as a podcaster?
No, I'm just like trying to make sure that like when I say something, I pick up on, like right now, Arian's on a screen. I'm trying to make sure that I can see his expressions and like react as if he was in person. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Nah, man. I mean, your process is your process. I respect it.
I would be down to do a podcast in the metaverse or whatever this thing is. It seems like it'd be awesome.
If you can help us with that, please reach out.
I think we also need to go back and rewatch The Matrix. I feel like The Matrix, like everybody goes back and pulls up Simpsons clips and they say, how did the Simpsons know that this was going to happen? They predicted this again. The Matrix, that entire shit that's what we're dealing with right now.
I'd have to watch it for the first time.
You've never seen it?
No.
We should do
What?
a live viewing. YouTube.
Let's do a live. Yeah, it's like a live YouTube.
Yeah.
If you watching, I will watch it with you because that's one of my favorite movies, man, of all time.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Have you guys ever had a Matrix moment where you're in real life and then you see something on repeat and you're like, holy fuck, like, wait, I just like, so for example, I was waiting for somebody, waiting on the corner in New York, and I see this guy pass on a city bike and I don't think much about it. And then, a little while later, I see a guy pass on a city bike and I'm like, pick it up again. I'm like, wait, did I just see that guy? No, I'm not. I'm thinking crazy. Then I see him a third time. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I just saw that guy pass. Then I see him a fourth time. And at this point, I'm like, okay, what the fuck is happening? This guy's passing. And like people typically don't do loops around the block 4 times. And then I went to investigate because I was like, what the fuck's going on?
What was your investigation process?
On the next street over, there was a city bike hub, and this guy was testing different city bikes to see which ones were weren't squeaky, weren't running the best. And I was like, one, not that of a weirdo move by that guy to like get the best running city bike. I guess maybe he was going a long way with it. He wanted, nothing with any complications. But I was there just like seeing him loop. And I was like, is this the Matrix? Like, what the fuck's going on?
Well, Billy, you simple-minded fool. What happened was you identified it correctly as being deja vu. There was a glitch. And then the programmers behind the scenes were like, oh shit, Billy's on to us. Quick, program it so we can find a solution for this. Have him testing out the city bike so he'll be none the wiser. You've been reprogrammed, Billy.
Damn it. I mean, I guess we all just got a factory reset at 1:20 Central Time.
Yeah, I actually feel better. Does anybody else feel better after the emergency
I was
test thing?
thinking about that. If the government was going to do some like changes to everybody, wouldn't they try to do something good? Like maybe like we all just got
The
like
government?
or like whatever.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Like let's like inject everybody with something, then release 5G, but it doesn't like make them go into zombies. It makes them like just feel good all the time and like be able to work harder and like contribute to the economy and civilization better.
Yeah, give me some of that good 5G.
Yeah.
What is the 5G conspiracy? We should look into that.
Good vibes conspiracy.
Yeah. What are the 5Gs?
Gluck.
gorgeous guys getting glucked.
What is glucked?
Ooh.
Oh, come on.
That's my kind of
I mean,
5G.
oh, come on. You think I
It's your
play
favorite
dumb
type of stadium.
You've admitted that you've been a fan.
of a gluck?
Yeah.
This is literally the first time I ever heard the word gluck.
The gluck
What are you talking
gluck.
about? Gluck gluck? That's
Arian, what does this sound like?
That's
know.
some non-consensual
like-
ASMR.
fallacious.
Yeah,
activity?
fallacious.
That's what a gluck is?
A gluck, as coined by Call Her Daddy. Yeah. Are you in the daddy gang?
That
Who's calling- I don't
expression
know.
made
Father Cooper.
We're far into the whites.
that is
right now.
that is $100 million expression right there. I wish I came up with it. 60,
It's just getting head.
but a
Gluck,
certain
And the other
style.
side of it is the cooch gobbler. It was the Gluck 9000, and then I forget what number the cooch.
Well, who made
gobbler.
this up?
Gluck,
Who
gluck,
made gluck
cooch
up?
gobbler.
Where does this? How long has this been in circulation?
I believe the
5
Gluck.
or 6 years.
Yeah, that was probably 2017, 2018.
Two Americas maybe.
And
I've never heard of the gluck gluck, man.
yeah,
Well, it made one woman more money than like a 4-time All-Pro running back. So
Her doing it or her inventing the term?
her
Both.
inventing the term. Well, no, we don't know. She talked about it, but
She may
True.
have learned it from somebody else.
So who is this?
Father Cooper.
Her name is Father Cooper.
No, she's
in a way,
she was one of the co-hosts of Call Her Daddy. Now she does her own Call Her Daddy, but she was on Barstool Sports. They had one of the biggest podcasts in the world for about I think 2 years on our network, and it was just all about sex. And so they were talking about all the different types of encounters they would have, all the different relationships they'd have, and then they tried to get out of their contract early, and they couldn't get out of the contract. So Dave offered them a raise and also gave them the intellectual property to Call Her Daddy, to their podcast, so that when their contract was over, they could leave and sell it and make a shitload of money. So essentially, they said, we're going to shorten your contract, let you get to free agency faster, and we'll give you more money now. And then one of them agreed to do that. The other did not and went out on her own. The one that stayed, when she did hit free agency, she got $60 million from Spotify.
Damn, what happened to the other joint?
She's doing her own podcast
not
right now.
60 million.
Probably not 60 mil.
Getting roasted by Steiny and Sneeko.
Yeah. So big time bag fumble on her part. But yeah, Father Cooper, she invented the Gluck 9000.
What if the Gluck 9000 wasn't her original idea, and there's just some maybe 70-year-old lady that revolutionized it in the 70s, and she's
Nancy
just
Reagan.
Yeah.
and she just got her IP stolen.
Yeah, I mean, she might or her ICUM stolen. Yeah. I feel like I forget how we even got on this. Oh yeah, we're talking about 5G. So what is the actual 5G conspiracy theory?
So they updated all the networks, for cell towers so that everyone could get high-speed internet. The infrastructure needed to be updated because everyone's got an iPhone and everyone got the 5G iPhone. And they changed the frequencies, and people started looking into examples of concentrated 5G's impact on cells, weird studies, and they think that it's going to give everyone cancer and contribute to depopulation.
Okay. Is it true?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, they also said that this test was going to fuck everybody up.
And we now know exactly an hour later. We haven't gone into the purge or done any zombie stuff.
We also haven't been outside, so we don't know.
I know we might have been insulated. Is this like a sound?
Well, we're in Chicago. It'd be hard to tell.
Yeah. Good point. Good point, Big T. I want to look more into the 5G thing. One thing we take for granted as a society is all the phone towers that we have everywhere, and the people that build them, and the people that have to go up and change a light bulb at the top of these towers. It's like the most dangerous job in the world.
Dude, linesman, my little cousin, he didn't go to college. He decided to go to line school. Dude, he's going to make 6 figures out of line school.
What's line school?
Like the guys who go up to the towers, fix the
tower
lines.
He's a tower climber?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean the ones that climb the cell phone towers, these guys are up there 700 feet above the
They
ground.
get paid, bro.
They get paid really well
But that's what's so crazy
because
is
it's like the most dangerous job in the world.
so many of these kids coming out of college are like going to work for, getting like 40, 50K, 60K and spending all that college money. Like, it's crazy how the financials of college that was supposed to, back when everyone was supposed like go to college, you're going to get a job, how far it's now reversed that the trades are getting paid out of college way more than your average college student.
I think those guys deserve that and more.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously they're incentivized. Arian's got a skeptical look right now, so he's doing some research, fact checking Billy.
That shit. I don't know about that.
Maybe not. I think definitely for liberal arts degrees.
Okay, what's the claim so that I know what I'm Googling?
Actually, just look up trade school versus.
Well, you can you can start with a trade right out of high school.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of guys, even when I was growing up, that started making like 15, 16 an hour, which was a lot back when I graduated from high school with no, it was right from high school. They get into a trade and they're living pretty large for the first few years when everybody else is like a poor college student. And eventually it catches up. But yeah, some of these trades, especially the dangerous ones, like these dudes are out there free climbing these towers and they're not supposed to. You're supposed to use all these safety contraptions and safety harnesses. But the fact is they get paid more the more work they can do. So they'll climb these towers without restraints, without the proper restraints. And yeah, it's super, super dangerous.
So the average.
And you know what else about these tower climber guys?
Mm-hmm.
They, the way that the towers are set up, the cell phone companies, they don't own the tower, or they don't set the towers up themselves, because then they'd be legally liable for everything that happens during the construction of them. So they contract that out to independent contractors and these independent contractors solely work for Verizon, or they only work for AT&T or Sprint or these types of companies. And these independent contractors are the ones that build the towers. So they're the ones that are responsible. So even the tower climbers, they're independent contractors too. So they have no like actual, OSHA doesn't come after Sprint or Verizon as they probably should be coming after them, because it's hard to track down the individual people that are in charge of building these towers.
So I was talking to my cousin, and there's a lot of people that think that linesmen are frauds and that it's a racket, because why don't they just bury the lines so they don't go down during storms? Like, especially when it comes to like electrical power.
You can't do that everywhere. I don't think.
I know, but like that's like there's people out there who are like, why don't we just bury the lines? We're wasting all this money on repairs and like damages from when there's storms and lack of productivity. Why don't we just bury the lines? These guys are like have these unions and they're just milking the system. And like these, like it's a problem. None of us probably think about it, but to linesmen, it's like a big like part of their union negotiations that there are politicians, people who are like, why don't we just bury the lines?
Why don't we just lay all the lines down on the ground, and then we'll just put traffic cones next to them, clearly marking like, hey, don't touch this, you'll get electrocuted. There's one traffic cone every 50 feet, and survival of the fittest. If you're dumb enough to trip over one, then boom, you're done. Out of the gene pool.
Third line.
Yeah. But yeah, shout out. If we have any tower climbers, I hope there's no tower climbers that listen to this podcast. Actually, I don't want to take that. I hope you listen to the podcast, but at times that are safe for you on the job, and that you're not up at the top of the tower hearing our stupid thoughts. I watch some of those videos sometimes, and I have no idea why, because I'm terrified of heights. But I'll watch them, and then my hands, I'm just sweating thinking about it.
I had to do it when I was in the Tough Mudder. There was a climbing portion, and I fucking hate heights. And it was like 60 feet. You had to climb the ropes.
Yeah.
And basically no attachment, no nothing. And I knew if I skipped that one, I would feel terrible at the end of the race. So I literally just closed my eyes and the whole time just climbed. And I was like, it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, I'm out on that.
Yeah. But
this
also,
is actually interesting. I'm reading up on just like the Bureau of Labor Statistics and like their data. And so it absolutely pays more to get a degree. Way more. And as you go up in degree, your median income rises as well. So like associates, bachelor's, masters, doctoral, That all increases significantly as you get higher in education. But then they list all these trades without degrees. So they have like construction, installation, maintenance and repair, transportation, and like the highest one that I saw is a subway and streetcar operator. The median annual wage in 2021 was 81.
Wow.
Whoa.
81K for subway and streetcar operators. That's wild. I didn't know that.
Underwater welders, they make, if you're working on the oil rigs, you make like $1,000 an hour or something crazy.
Yeah. That's also an extremely dangerous job.
Yeah. My statistics are probably off, and it probably does still pay to get degrees, but I think like the return on the investment maybe, or something about, or maybe just a bachelor's degree doesn't have as much of a return on its investment. I don't know what I may be talking out of my ass, but it's still good to hear.
I could see there, if it was still like the year 1990, I could see the NFL putting in a rule saying you're going to get paid 10% more if you have a college degree, like as an incentive for people to stick around college long enough. What are the most dangerous jobs? So there's underwater welder. I agree with that. Did you ever hear about the Byford dolphin?
Like dolphin?
No, it's the name of like this diving bell. Because if you're an underwater welder and sometimes you work like way under the ocean and you're working on oil rigs, they have to. It's not economically feasible to send you down that far and then pull you back up and wait for your body to get acclimated so that your cells don't explode, because they get, I think, a higher mix of
hypoxia
of nitrogen in them because you're breathing in like this blended gas that's not just oxygen. It's nitrogen and oxygen to make you able to do your job down there. So it's not, they can't put you down for 8 hours and then bring you back up to the surface and then put you down again for 8 hours. So what they'll do is they submerge this container that's equally pressurized to what the pressure level is under the sea if you're a couple hundred feet down or however low it goes, and you have to do your job. So you're out there in pitch dark doing your job all day. Then you swim up into this little diving bell, this little capsule that's in the middle of the bottom of the sea. You swim up into it, and then you sleep there in like a tiny room with 4 other dudes that are working like a 2-week shift out there. And there was this one time, one of the people that was working on this oil rig, they didn't pressurize the door correctly. And so when they brought the diving bell back up to the ship and the divers are still inside in their pressurized environment, somebody opened up the door and the pressure equalized on the inside and outside. And everybody that was inside this diving bell was immediately vaporized. Their body turned into goo, like instantly.
Like what they said was happening on the submarine.
On the submarine, but it happened like on an oil rig.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's such a crazy, dangerous job.
Dirty Water Don, if you're still interested in underwater welding and that sort of stuff, check out our episodes with him, because he's a dock builder. He worked for the city of New York for a long time. And also freelance gigs. He talks all about working underwater in dive helmets and whatnot. And he knows his shit. He got me down from the bottom of the East River back up. Like, trust that guy with my life.
Yeah. What are some other very dangerous jobs?
Lion handler.
Lion handler? Yeah. Lion handler / magician. Yeah. That's that's got a 50% mall rate from my understanding.
In cartoons, lion handlers and magicians who chop or
get chopped in half.
I mean, I wonder how dangerous like window cleaning is.
Window cleaning? Those guys, no thank you.
Oh my God. Did you see the video of the Frenchman who was climbing a tower? He was like a free climber, and he climbed up a building. And then he got to the top, and there was like a lip on the top of the building that he thought he could scale, but he couldn't, and he had to climb all the way back down.
No,
it's making my hands sweat just thinking about it.
That would be so annoying.
Oh my God!
Pizza delivery guy is probably pretty dangerous.
They probably do, like, because there's so many. Their fatalities must be like maybe not per capita, but pretty high.
Yeah, because you're driving all the time. You're in a rush everywhere you go.
You might go to the wrong house.
You carry a lot of cash on you.
I was thinking about it the other day. It's not just pizza delivery. Everything gets delivered now. So like pizza delivery doesn't hold the same fervor that it used to. Because that used to be like a specific, like this is one of the only things that you can get delivered, but not everything gets delivered. So it's not really, it's just delivery people now.
Mhm. Police officers
Yeah.
more dangerous than most firefighters. Got to put them on the list. First responders.
Yeah, I think I read something the other day that I did not fact check that said that pizza delivery is a more dangerous job than being a police officer.
That actually, that's a fact that I would be like, yeah, that's believable. Let's ask AI if that's true.
You love AI.
Well, because it's so good. So like, what's the most?
It's so good.
Dangerous.
Didn't ChatGPT just accuse a guy of sexual assault based on an article that didn't exist from a college he never worked at?
What?
Yeah. I forget the
Run me that
specifics.
story. What, yo?
So I think this guy's a professor. Let me find the story. I saw it this morning.
While he's looking, Bard, which is Google's AI, says that logging workers have the most dangerous job per capita in the United States.
Yeah.
91.7 per 100,000 full-time equivalent workers had fatal injuries.
Fuck
So
that shit.
what the fuck?
Yeah, it's pretty high.
So that's almost 1 in 100.
So that's like climbing up into trees with chainsaws.
Yeah.
It's tower climbing, but with chainsaws.
Yeah. So then other high fatal injury rates are aircraft pilots and flight engineers. Roofers makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Falling off a roof. Construction workers, refuse and recyclable material collectors, structural iron and steel workers, delivery and truck drivers, so pizza, yeah, underground mining machine operators.
Oh yeah, miners. I forgot about them.
Where
Sorry, miners.
do police officers compare? I'm just asking that because I think they're probably actually not as high as we think. But
What did it say?
not giving me a good answer.
Big T, what were you gonna say?
So I thought this story was recent. It turns out it's from April. But one night last week, law professor Jonathan Turley got a troubling email as part of a research study. A fellow lawyer in California had asked the AI chatbot ChatGPT to generate a list of legal scholars who had sexually harassed someone. Turley's name was on the list. The chatbot said Turley had made sexually suggestive comments and attempted to touch a student while on a class trip to Alaska, citing a March 2018 article in the Washington Post as the source of the information. The problem, no such article existed. There had never been a class trip to Alaska, and Turley said he'd never been accused of harassing a student.
That's
pretty bad.
wild.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, he's learning us and learning how cancel culture works. And
Yeah.
starting to slowly implement it on society. Speaking of occupations, I found a channel, Big T, on YouTube. It's called SB Mowing, and my guy just mows lawns. And I've watched
sick.
maybe 20 of his videos.
Oh, yeah.
Is it
It's
soothing?
so fascinating. Oh my god! So the other day, it was Sunday, and my kids are all running around, and I had football on. Then I was like, I'm not really interested in this game. I turned on the mowing thing, and for like 30 minutes, I was just watching this cat mow, man. And my kids are going, "Are you just watching lawn? Guy mowing the lawn?" I was like, "Yeah." And next thing you know, they sat down and I want to see the finished product. They sat down and watched like 20 minutes of it. That shit is fascinating, though.
You know, the new YouTube kick I'm on right now is the Arkansas State Police doing pit maneuvers on car chases. The Arkansas State, if you want to get in a car chase and run from the cops, do not do it in Arkansas because they do not fuck around. They are awesome.
Yeah.
And that when they'll pit people out like into the woods and send the cars flying and shit, it's awesome.
Do they have like some law that allows them to do?
I'm
more
sure because
reckless-
they are crazy.
Well, I think a lot of the roads in Arkansas are either extremely rural or they're highways.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of room to do something like that you can't do in a city. That sounds like something that I would be interested in watching. Big T.
I could
Great
totally,
videos.
I could totally imagine Arkansas having a law that dates back to like bootlegging days and like the origins of NASCAR that if you suspect a car that has contraband of some sort, you can like do the most aggressive shit to fly him off the road. It was like, well, this guy could have weed in his car. Let's just flip him off a bridge.
The name of the channel is Natural State Transparency.
Really quickly, I got my math wrong. It's logging workers die like 0.1 out of 100, and police officers are 14 out of 100,000, whereas loggers are 91.7 per 100,000. So it's not 1 out of 100.
No, you didn't say that earlier. You said 100 out of I forget what you said.
100,000. It was wrong.
Yeah, 100 out of 100,000, right?
Yeah, but I was saying that was like 1 out of 100.
Oh no, it's not 1%.
It's like 1 out of 1,000.
Yes, which is still very high.
Yeah.
For somebody to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pit maneuver. I think I could execute a pit maneuver if I had to.
What is a pit
think?
maneuver?
Pit maneuver is when you're in a car and there's a cop chasing you, and they come up behind you and they steer the back or they steer the front of their car into the side of the back of your car, causing you to spin out.
I think it was in Cars 2.
Crazy.
I think a pit maneuver was done in Cars, one of the cars, by like a bad guy.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how those going at 110 miles an hour create intriguing YouTube videos.
Yeah. Is it like real or is it they testing it?
No, real.
Oh wow. Why do they have so many? So much to like.
I don't know, but
started
there's a
YouTube
lot
about this, bro.
Specifically from the Arkansas State Police.
I don't know that I agree with this, man. Like,
You should check it out. You should check it out.
How often do you need to do a pit maneuver on a civilian? Like how often? So often that we have a YouTube page about it.
I've been watching them for a few weeks, and I've still got a lot to go. So
Judge, jury, and pit maneuver.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, this is bad. Actually, no, that's horrible. Like
That's execution.
they have. I mean, they have
no, they don't.
a YouTube
nobody
channel. So I
dies.
mean,
Well, they probably do.
after
There's
a while,
one
like
where the guy
that
might
becomes
die.
a viable option for the task at hand. They're like, man, I'm about to ram this dude. He's not put. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
They're-
problematic. I don't know.
I mean,
if
it's
agree with
only it's guys that are like evading the police at 100 miles an hour. It's not like guys they're just pulling over.
About they're funding
That's
the
wild.
department like through the YouTube.
It's a great way to spend 45 minutes.
Like they're classifying the YouTube revenue as donations to the department.
Yeah. A lot of these that I'm watching right now they appear to be going between like 30 and 50 miles an hour.
Those are the beginner ones.
Yeah. Those are the beginner ones.
Is that
Those ones,
is that necessary?
I don't know. I don't know what the rules of engagement are in terms of these maneuvers, but it seems like it would be fun if you had like a drone car in front of you. It'd be fun to try to do it.
Oh, like to just try it one time.
Yeah.
Like video games.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Racing
saying.
Simulator.
Like, I think I could do one. I think I could do one at 50 miles per hour. I also think that I could pass the bar exam. Am I crazy to think that?
No,
Just using logic? Because
Yes.
Yeah, you.
no.
Wow.
If you were to
think so?
study for it, if
There
you
are
were to
people who
study for
graduate
it.
from law school who can't pass the bar.
But there's
exam.
also
a lot of
just
idiots.
using logic.
well, there's also a lot of as we talked to Fridge earlier about. There's a lot of guys who pass the bar in prison. Like they go to the library,
They go to
study
the
up,
library
and
and study. Yeah,
do a shitload of
yes,
research.
not just do it.
My man
on a whim.
PFT said just off logic. He
Yeah,
can
off
get it
logic.
out.
I
feel
was
like-
about to agree with him until he said just off logic.
I
I was
think-
like, if you studied, yeah.
All right, so my educational history, I'm not proud to admit this, but I didn't do a lot of assigned work when I was in college or
Oh.
in high school.
Really?
I'm a good test taker, so I can like figure out what they're trying to ask me in the questions, even if I wasn't prepared. I mean, there were obviously some classes where I couldn't bullshit my way through, but I think maybe this might be a case of me being the most delusional person on planet Earth. I just want to try it. I want to see if I could take the bar exam and if I could pass it with no prep whatsoever.
While we
Are
watch
there-
The
are there-
Matrix,
are
we'll take
there-
a practice exam.
Yeah, are there like practice exams you can take online?
Yeah, there's got to be. I think my buddy was taking them.
Ask your boyfriend.
I will.
ChatGPT.
Oh, my boyfriend or my friend who's a boy who's
No, no.
actually taking them, or ChatGPT?
No,
or
your
Bard?
robot boyfriend.
Yeah.
Ask for a sample question.
He's an intellectual dildo.
Who?
Bard.
Oh, your ChatGPT.
Yeah, because he's
An
intellectually
intellectual dildo.
stimulating.
Thanks.
What's an example of a bar exam question?
How long do you think a bar exam takes?
Probably like
It's like
2
Oh,
days?
very long.
Jesus Christ.
I'm out.
That's
It's just, I must say, purely off of logic. It's sitting there and deductive reasoning for 2 days straight.
Yeah.
okay. Well, here's an essay question.
Okay.
Oh, here's a multiple choice question.
All right, give me multiple choice.
Okay. Which of the following is not a defense to a medical malpractice claim?
Oh shit. All right.
The plaintiff consented to the medical procedure. The defendant was acting in an emergency situation. The defendant was following the standard of care. The defendant's negligence was not the proximate cause of the plaintiff's injury.
A.
Hey,
I think-
Easy.
Wait.
Easy.
Run the questions back again.
So I'm going to send it to the group in a message so you guys can properly check it out.
No,
I agree with you, BFT.
the answer is A.
Well, just look at it again.
Okay.
Just
I
run-
don't have
Well,
the
I
question.
see the answer.
R-
Which
run
of the following is not a defense to a medical malpractice claim? A, the plaintiff consented to the medical procedure. B, the defendant was acting in an emergency situation. C, the defendant was following the standard of care. D, the defendant's negligence was not the proximate cause of the plaintiff's injury.
was not the cause.
I think it might be D.
No, it's A.
I think it's still A.
The answer is A.
The
No,
plaintiff
the answer-
consented to the medical procedure.
The answer is C. The defendant was following the standard of care. The standard of care is the level of care that is a reasonably prudent doctor would exercise under the same or similar circumstances. If the defendant followed the standard of care, then they are not liable for the medical malpractice, even if the plaintiff suffered injuries.
Right. But the question.
That's the opposite of what you asked.
Yeah.
Which of the
that
following
a defense.
is not a defense?
But the way you just explained it
is that it's a defense.
it's a defense.
Well, you know what? I'm just reading what
this
Chad.
could be, well,
this could
this
be
is why we
Bard
don't ask
fucking up.
Chat GPT. Let's go to the Illinois bar exam tutor.
Sound off in the TikTok comments. What's
Yeah.
your thoughts are, lawyers?
I mean, C, the defendant was following the standard of care. That seems to me like that'd be an ironclad defense against medical malpractice.
I don't know, man. I don't.
But
That's why
the
I'm not a
plaintiff-
lawyer.
But the plaintiff consented to it. Oh wait, yeah. The plaintiff.
The other three choices are all potential defenses to a medical malpractice claim. If the plaintiff consented to the medical procedure, then the defendant is not liable. Oh, what the fuck?
Is the
He's not
answer
liable
A?
unless they committed negligence beyond the scope of the plaintiff's consent. If the defendant was acting in an emergency situation, then they are held to a lower standard of care.
Right, I agree.
If the defendant's negligence was not the proximate cause of the plaintiff's injury, then the defendant is not liable.
Yeah.
So you just
So it's
basically said
D.
the answer is A.
It's gotta be. I don't know, man.
You
That
know what?
shit-
Fuck this shit. This is why we're not lawyers.
Well, this is why we don't use Bard for.
Well, maybe
everything.
Bard's right and we just can't comprehend it.
No, I don't think so. I think
No.
I'm
Yeah.
smarter than that
I'm
computer.
like an Elon Musk fan.
Yeah.
Sorry, I like technology.
What is your obsession with AI?
Well, I feel like if I do not use it to
No. Be
empower me,
serious. Be serious.
I'm being serious. Like if you're not working with it, then you are going to be left in the dust because it's going to reach higher than human intelligence in the next 3 years.
But right now,
3 years.
right now,
Three or 4 that's something I read 2030. That's not 3
what
years,
you're using it
2030.
for right now is basically like Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for example, it was much more efficient to just type that in than go look for myself for a random question.
But it also might be wrong.
It also might be wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you want? I have some questions where we know we have the right answer.
Okay.
Do you want
Yeah.
One
Give
of
me,
those.
give me the
Okay.
questions.
All right. Can Anne be convicted of burglary if her defense is that she entered the building solely to seek refuge from a sudden storm?
Read it again.
Yes.
Can Anne be convicted of Well, there's 4 choices. Can Anne be convicted of burglary if her defense is that she entered the building solely to seek refuge from a sudden storm? A. Yes, Anne can be convicted of burglary even if she entered the building to seek refuge from a sudden storm. B. No, Anne cannot be convicted of burglary if she entered the building solely to seek refuge. C. Maybe it depends whether Anne had a history of committing crimes. D.
Wow.
It depends on the severity of the storm that Anne encountered.
I think I'm hearing 2 key words there. This is me logicking the test. I might be wrong.
Nice.
Logic that
He-
shit.
I'm hearing
Yeah.
2 key words here.
Mhm.
The word solely. The word solely stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what burglary means, but
Yeah,
but I think the answer is no, she cannot, because she did not go into the store to rob anything. She solely went in the store to get away from the storm.
So your answer would be B.
And-
No, she cannot be convicted of burglary.
And it was a crime of convenience, which I'm going to say B, no.
Is burglary technically because it might just be like actually the act of entering something and not actually taking anything.
Right. Like,
That's where the burglary.
Similar
What is
to what I'm
burglary?
saying. I'm going to say B. No, she cannot if she's solely, because it repeated the word solely.
Okay, Arian, you said yes. You think A?
No. Wait.
You think she could be convicted?
Oh,
Yes,
no,
I think she can be
she
convicted,
can
yes.
be.
Yes.
Entry into a building illegally with the intent to commit a crime.
Yeah, no.
So
you're
that
wrong.
can also fall under trespassing.
No, you're wrong. The answer is B, and cannot be convicted of burglary. Burglary requires the intent to commit a crime upon entering a building, and seeking shelter from a storm is not a criminal act.
There we go. I'm a lawyer.
So what about?
You gotta listen to these key words.
What about a home? Can Anne enter a home?
That's not what the question was, though, Arian. So solely entering a place like a place of business, you can't be convicted of burglary because you didn't go into the store to rob it. You went in there for a different reason.
Well, this is what I'm saying. What if you have a ranch in the middle of nowhere and there's a tornado coming, and you break into somebody's house to seek refuge from a storm? Can you be convicted
of probably a crime? You probably could be convicted of trespassing.
Honestly, I think we'd all end up in prison in a lot of these situations.
It depends on how you define burglary, which is actually, when we get into prisons, one of the big points is like how you categorize different crimes. Like a lot of the times, like violent crimes actually don't have anything violent in them, but they'll have like could have led to violence. You know what I mean? Property, so a lot of stuff like that. The language in which how we define burglary or breaking and entering, stuff like that, is kind of vague, and it's not black and white as it seems. So
yeah.
Big T, do you have are there any more questions?
Yeah, here's a contracts law question.
Oh, good.
Which of the following statements is true regarding the scenario where Jane proposed to sell her car to John for $5,000, but sold the car to someone else the very next day without receiving any acceptance or consideration from John? A, yes, John can sue Jane for breach of contract because she made an offer to him. B, John cannot sue Jane for breach of contract because no contract was formed between the two. C, maybe John can sue Jane for breach of contract because he needed time to think it over. Or D, it depends on the type of contract Jane proposed.
Would it be B?
I say B.
B sounds right to me. Can you read B again?
No, John cannot sue Jane for breach of contract because no contract was formed between the two.
And can you read the question again?
Which of the following statements is true regarding the scenario where Jane proposed to sell her car to John for $5,000, but sold the car to someone else the very next day without receiving any acceptance or consideration from John?
Yeah, she just proposed, no acceptance or consideration.
Yeah, I'd say B on that one. Is a verbal contract binding? I know in some states it is, in some states it isn't.
Well, there wasn't any. That was part of the.
So the key word I heard,
have a verbal agreement.
The key word that I've heard was proposed.
Yeah, proposed.
Yes, the answer is B.
Yeah,
sweet.
She
These
proposed
seem
it.
easier than like.
Those are definitely the filler questions. There's definitely hard ones at the end.
Are there filler questions in the bar exam?
I think these are just giving you an idea of like the subjects and stuff that could be on there.
Okay.
I think you have to actually know case law too. So like you actually have to know Rogers versus the state in 2018 has set the precedent for this kind of case law. So they reference that, like in courts all the time. They'll reference case law in case something like that similarly comes up. So like if you go back to
right.
Speaking of test taking,
it sounds like a lot of studying that you have to be able to like
insane.
Recall that. I want to know how long it takes if I'm allowed to take the bar exam and how much it costs.
Do you think you could pass the bar?
I think I could pass the bar exam.
No shot in hell.
Quick.
You're fucking insane, and I think you're a brilliant man, but that's insane.
I'd be willing to take the LSAT with you if you wanted to take the LSAT and see what you could get on that.
I don't do like grad school. I want to be a lawyer.
Well, the LSAT you can actually pass because a lot of it's like
stuff
that's you don't have to study for necessarily because it's not have to do with case law. It's all
you
like
do need to study for it, but yeah, it wouldn't involve as much as like stuff you would
make a video. PFT takes the LSAT.
I want to see what I would get on the bar exam. Okay, I don't actually believe that I would pass the bar exam. I'm not that delusional. I'm just interested to see how how far I could go on bullshit.
Well, real quick, speaking of test taking, when American psychologist Timothy Leary arrived at prison in 1971, he knew how to answer the psychology tests inmates take because he helped design some of the questions. And he then manipulated those tests to get a gardening job, a position he used to escape.
Interesting.
Okay, PFT, I've found a free 40-question practice exam with like 3-paragraph questions. So
Okay.
I'm going to send this to you. I'll take it as well,
Okay.
and we'll see what we get.
Okay. Sounds good. Before we get into more jail prison talk, it's being brought to you by our good friends over at Sport Clips. Your hair might grow fast, but after going to Sport Clips haircuts, you're going to wish that it grew even faster. That's because Sport Clips has the best seats in hair, and that may or may not be because they happen to be right in front of giant TVs playing sports all day, every day. We know that watching sports while getting a haircut sure beats watching your reflection get a haircut, which is why at Sport Clips, every day is clippers and curveballs, high tops and Hail Marys, and even waves and wickets if you're into that sort of thing. At Sport Clips, you can check in with the pros in men's hair and totally check out with pure, uninterrupted relaxation. So yeah, come watch an endless stream of sports on TV while getting an awesome haircut. Sport Clips, it's a game changer. Check out Sport Clips. Okay, let's talk some jail. Let's talk some prison. Right off the bat, to me, it seems like prison would be like the years that you spend in prison would age you so much faster than it's like being president, because you're just always looking over your shoulder when you're inside. Billy?
Counterpoint, you technically on paper shouldn't have access to alcohol and drugs and stuff that shortens your lifespan. So you might avoid damaging your DNA as much as you could on the outside.
However, I would imagine that the nutrition that you get from meals in prison probably isn't as good as what you get on the outside.
Touche.
Yeah. I hope I never...
Counterpoint, you may work out more.
True. I hope I never have to go to prison. Prison would be fun for if there wasn't anybody else there in prison. It'd be fun for like a week just to get away from it all and decompress.
You know, remember that bank robber simulator that we were thinking about doing?
Yeah.
We should do that, but then also having a jail simulator.
Yeah.
So then you'd go to jail, but it was with the guys you did the job with.
Jail simulator, that would be an immersive experience, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think there is one.
Really?
I believe there's a prison simulator. I've seen
I
it,
would
think.
100% do that for content.
Like a prison simulator online, or
Oh,
like,
yeah, I'm talking about like a video game. What are you
No,
talking
I'm talking about like an experience.
like the Stanford prison experiment,
like an
the
escape
worst
room?
experiment
Yeah.
ever conducted in
By
the
the way,
history
I think
of...
that was overblown. I was like looking at some stuff. I think the Stanford prison experiment wasn't as bad as they painted it. They just like dramatized it.
People doing it seem to think it was pretty bad.
I think like if you look it up,
I think Billy might be right on this.
I think they kind of like were crybabies about it.
No, I remembered some. No,
Yeah,
what Billy's saying is like,
No.
is like they were being little bitches when we were trying to haze them.
Like they
But in
exaggerated.
reality, what I think happened was the people that did the study exaggerated the reports of it,
Yeah.
like the final written up report of things. I think Billy might be right.
I
on
mean,
this.
And the one
the-
guy that had to study for a test who wasn't allowed to study for a test claimed that he was going crazy so he could go study for his test because he thought he'd be able to get paid doing the study sitting in a prison setting, like where he thought all he had to do was just be able to study, and then they didn't let him study.
I mean, the guy who was doing the experiment is supposed to be like weeks, and he stopped it after a couple days.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to imprison people by their own volition.
But they had agreed to it.
Yeah, but like I know many people who agreed to be in one place for an extended period of time and then getting to leave because they put up enough of a fight about it.
Talk about like visiting a timeshare seminar where it's like, you guys told me that you were going to give me 2 free tickets to Medieval Times, and I don't want to buy the timeshare, so let me out. And they're like, no, you can't leave just yet. We need to call your parents, see if they'll co-sign on it for you. But yeah, Billy, I've heard something like that about the Stanford prison experiment. But what we're talking about is like prison fantasy camp.
Yeah.
Like get to go experience it yourself. My guess is it would kind of suck. It would even the fantasy camp would suck, but prison is definitely it's no fun. We can look up some of the most dangerous prisons in the world if you guys want to.
You ever watch that show, World's Most Dangerous Prisons?
Yeah,
Awesome show.
is in some countries in Central America, well, namely like El Salvador, they would have an entire prison that was just for MS-13 members. So they would like put them in essentially just like an open area, and the entire, like the walls of the prison, that was the bars. So they didn't have individual cells, just like kind of an open field that all these guys are prisoners at, and they just pin them up like cattle.
There's
outside.
one, I believe it's in Central America somewhere. It's just a city.
Yeah.
That is the prison, and like there's a wall around it, and that's it. But it operates like very similar to how just a normal city would, but it's its own prison. It's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Privately funded prisons are the biggest crock of shit ever. I think everyone can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Like companies that exist to turn a profit for having prisons, it's so fucked up. And I think UCF's field was going to be sponsored and named after a private prison company. Yeah. And then people put up a big stink about it. It was like, why is this football team being sponsored by like a for-profit prison? And they had to change it.
Didn't we look up the name of that company? And it was Core Civic. Core Civic, I think it was. But that sounds like the most evil shit ever.
Yeah, anytime you have a company that no one can tell what it is you do by the name, it's just like very, very generic. That's a big red flag for me.
While I don't disagree with you about the premise, could create a pretty cool nickname for your stadium. Like, you know how Citizens Bank Park is called like the bank or whatever. Yeah. Like you could be the Clink.
Or the Hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Death Row.
Imagine a big sign above the visitors tunnel that says like "Welcome to Death Row."
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, that's a home field advantage if I've ever heard one.
From Snoop.
True.
He owns it now. I think Snoop owns Death Row Records right now.
But that's a home field advantage.
Is Suge Knight still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in jail or prison.
Arian, I was listening to Glasses Malone's one of the tracks that he put out a few years ago. It was called like Tupac Deserved to Die. It came across my timeline the other day. It was told from the story of the guy that shot him, from the point of view of that dude. It's a wild song. The name is very aggressive. I think it was designed to like grab people's attention.
He did it on purpose. Yeah.
But it's just, you remember that story, the true story of the Three Little Pigs that was written from the wolf's point of view? Did you guys read that in school?
Yeah. I never saw the wolf's point of view.
Yeah, it was written by, and the name of the author was written by A. Wolf, and it was like it blew my mind.
I love that story.
It blew my mind when I read it. I was like, "Holy shit!" It's like that meme where the camera is close up zoomed on this one guy stabbing another guy who's trying to run away, but then you see the entire scene, and it's the other way around, where the guy that's running away is actually stabbing.
It looks like a newspaper clipping.
Yeah.
Give me the story. Give me the story. I've never heard from Wolf's perspective.
I'll read a sample. Page 1. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story, because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. And that was the free sample.
All right, so what happens in this is the wolf has a bad cold, and that's the start of it. He's sneezing all over the place. He's very sick, and it's his grandmother's birthday. He's making her a cake, and then he goes to ask one of his neighbors for a cup of sugar to help him bake a cake for his grandmother, and he sneezes, and the pig's house was made out of like straw, and so he sneezes and accidentally buries the first pig. And then I forget what happens after that, but basically him saying like it wasn't his fault at all, and the pigs are like assholes. So the last pig won't even talk to him, won't say a word to him. So it flips your whole script on it. And the wolf doesn't mean to hurt anybody. He's just sick. He's just a sick little wolf.
But I think he does eat the pig.
Yeah, it's because that's what wolves do. They eat pigs. It was already dead.
Yeah. I'd like to see a lawyer put together a defense of the big bad wolf.
I'll take the case pro bono.
Perfect.
You're already profiling him. He just whole big bad wolf thing. You're already fed into the pig's propaganda. I'm with the wolf on
Alexander
this
T. Wolf. I'm sorry.
That's true. Good point, Arian. Like we can't objection. My client's name is A Wolf, not Big Bad Wolf.
Sorry.
Motion to dismiss. Motion to dismiss all charges. The jury pool has been poisoned.
Little bitty wolf.
No, we refer to my client by
Little
his
wolf.
name or by the defendant.
Little bitch boy wolf.
One thing I'd have to get over is, if I wanted to be a lawyer, is forgetting the difference between sustained and overruled when the judge tells you like whether or not your objection works. I always get that confused.
Sustained means it's all good.
Is good.
I agree.
Okay, all right.
Overruled means shut the fuck up.
All right. Got it. All right. So, anyways, jail, prison. I have a question about jail when it comes to like contraband and all that stuff, getting cell phones in. Because remember the Duggar guy he was in jail for probably like child molestation. One of the kids from 18 Kids and Counting. Was it molestation or porn? It's porn.
He also molested his sister.
Oh, it was both. Okay.
He wasn't in jail for that.
Got it. He got busted for having a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that adds, like at the federal level, they'll add just another year. Like you get caught with a cell phone, boom, one more year. So I think it went from like 12 to 13 years. If you get in trouble for something, if you break the law while in prison, do you get arrested?
I think you get sent to the SHU, right? Special housing unit.
Yeah, but how does that process work? Like if you commit like a minor crime while in prison, do they have like an officer that comes in and reads you your rights, handcuffs you, and is like, you're going to prison?
I would assume they probably send you some sort of notification of your charge, and like that's it.
They let you go about your day?
I don't think they read you your rights and stuff. I don't think you have any rights.
Well, you can't be arrested if you're already in custody.
You could get put in double custody.
Double jeopardy.
Which means
and then you get to go home.
Yeah. That's okay. Then that's
it's
my
actually
solution.
on company property with company property. So double jeopardy.
As a lawyer, I advise you, sir, to commit as many crimes as possible while incarcerated so that you can get released on double jeopardy.
They should be sending you to the hole and shit a lot of times.
The hole to me sounds like the worst place you could possibly go to. I would go insane. So you're in the hole for like 23 hours a day, and the 1 hour that you're not in the hole, you don't get to talk to anybody or see anybody. You can't make any contact with the officers. You get meals delivered, and that's like the highlight of your day. You can't have anything to read in there. It's fucked up that people are like, well, this person is uncontrollable. Let's put them in this place that will make them more crazy. Doesn't seem like it's that effective.
I feel like you just jerk off a lot.
You probably. Yeah. Good point, Billy.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about how like nasty, like unsanitary it would be. Because like you would have to it'd have to be on you to keep up the upkeep, and you just with somebody dusty and musty. Like that's just what it'll be until you have it out with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But
I've had some bad roommates in my day. Oh, sorry, Arian.
No, go ahead.
Just imagine having like the world's worst roommate and you're in prison.
It'd be a nightmare.
I mean, that's worst case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who leaves the seat up?
It's Hank and Max that have to do the solitary for 24 hours?
Yep.
Jeez.
Well, they're going to be on a live stream too, and they have each other. It's going to end up like the Stanford prison experiment. We should make Hank the jailer and Max the warden. Or
then they'd be on the same team.
Yeah. We should make Hank the prisoner and Max the warden. That'd be nice. You know what what the largest prison ever was?
Largest prison ever. Is it in the United States?
It is not.
It's.
I don't know.
Is it the country as a whole?
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
That's true.
Australia was founded as a penal colony, which is I was going to say something very xenophobic against Australians. I love Australian people.
Well, you got to say it now.
Well,
it makes sense.
It makes sense given, that they're all descendant from prisoners.
Got it.
Their boisterous behavior.
So was Georgia, though.
That's true. Okay, good point. So, Big T, are you a direct descendant of a prisoner?
I don't know.
Huh. I had forgotten about Georgia.
There's some very interesting. Georgia was founded as a penal colony because the jails in Britain were being like overrun with like debtors' prisons were being overrun. There were too many like just tax cases and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they started sending letters and stuff back to England. Like, y'all should come to Georgia. It's amazing. The weather's beautiful. It's this great place. And they're like, you can either stay in jail here or go there. And then everybody got there and wrote back and they're like, this place sucks. Like, do not come here.
You guys, there's these things called gnats everywhere.
Yeah.
That just buzz all over the place. There's a body of water called Lake Lanier.
No, it didn't exist back then.
You're going to hate it. You're going to hate it here.
It's kind of funny that a country that was a lot of debtors that left their country just was like, let's create a place with no taxes. And then a couple of years later, they just put in taxes.
Yeah, so it was formed originally in Sydney. That was convict Australia. The first fleet sailed into Botany Bay on January 18th, 1788, but quickly assessed conditions as unsuitable and shifted north to Sydney Harbor on 26th of January, and that's the date that's marked as Australia Day. So that's a fun fact. Australia Day is really the date where all the ships filled with convicts were like, hey, this part of Australia sucks. Let's build the jail somewhere else. Like, that's bloody wonderful. That's all. Oh, fuck, I already screwed up the accent.
Yeah,
I lost my ability to do an Australian accent like 3 years ago. G'day, mate.
Crikey.
Right.
I think I took my baby.
Yeah, you're doing all the. You're playing the hits right
there's
now.
There's a no.
Nay. It's
Koala gave me chlamydia. No.
nay, Billy. Nay.
No.
Oh no. I used to be able to do a good Australian accent. I just lost it. I need to watch some more film on it and get back to my heyday. But yeah, that's Australia Day for you. Or they call it Invaders Day, depending on your perspective. So if you're an Aboriginal, they mark that as not quite a celebration holiday, but kind of the opposite. But yeah, I forgot about Georgia being a giant debtor's prison.
Kind of, yeah. I think it was supposed to be like kind of a work release program.
Yeah.
It was a halfway house.
Kind of. It was like, come get this colony set up. It's awesome. And then everybody got there and they're like, this place kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
We got to do an episode on Roanoke.
Oh, and Croatoan?
Yeah.
The monster? The sea monster?
But back to prisons.
Back to prisons, yeah. What were you going to say?
One of the interesting things that I found out was when I started like kind of researching about prisons, I kind of knew about this, but you started looking at like the recidivism rates of prison systems. And first of all, U.S. In prisons more than anybody else in the entire world. We have over 2 million prisoners currently right now, even though we're not even close to the highest population. But our recidivism rates are really high. I think right now our recidivism rate is around, it's over 50%. And so I looked at the opposite of that, right? So as the lowest recidivism rate, and recidivism rates is like repeat offenders, so like people who go back to prison or jail after they're incarcerated. Norway has a 20% recidivism rate, which is really low, and so that dropped like 50% during the 80s, 90s, and they started to take a look at why. Like jail in Norway is it's nowhere near what it is here, right? So they spend, I think, $120,000 per inmate versus the US, who spends, I think, 25,000 somewhere around there.
Yeah. Their prisons look like good Airbnbs.
Yeah, and so what they do is they focus on genuine rehabilitation. So it's not like this box that they just put people in, and they actually focus on teaching people trade skills, counseling, therapy, stuff like that, to where it's not this place where people go for punishment. It's not just punishment. It's like, okay, how can we reacclimate you to society so that you're a productive member? And it's what I always say. It's like, if you want to know who somebody is, they spend their money on. We don't spend money on actually caring about the roots of the problem in America. We just care about the solutions, and that's what politicians run on. They run on solutions to put band-aids over problems that are the reason why people are committing crimes in the first place. On top of the fact that we over incarcerate people in general in America, mass incarceration is huge, and it's increasing once again. It dropped for COVID significantly, but it's hyping back up. But when you look at the disparity between American prisons and like a Norway prison, and the reasons as to why they have such a low recidivism rate, it's because of they actually care about reacclimating people who commit crimes back into society.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
Also, I think like what goes into the recidivism rate in the United States is that when you leave prison, it's very, very difficult to get a job, to work, because you have that giant red flag on your resume saying you just got out of prison. And so places are way less likely to employ you there. And then what are you going to do if you can't get a good job? If the only job that you can get is like $7 an hour, and that's not enough to, like, if you have family, you can make more money than that doing illegal shit. And so then people do that, then they get caught again and they go back. There's also some people that are, definitely the types of people who would just never be one to follow the law, whether they had, bad upbringing, chemical imbalances, things like that, that are just going to be going back no matter what. But that also exists in Norway. You've got some types of those people too. But yeah, it's like teaching them like an actual trade while they're inside, giving them a tool to improve their lives. That to me seems like the best way forward. I don't know how much of that we end up even trying to do in the United States.
No, we don't give a shit. Like, I mean, when you tell people, like, there's people fighting for like prison accommodations, right? Like the well-being of prisoners in these jails and in these prisons. Like, when you bring that up to people, they laugh at you like they're fucking criminals. Who gives a shit about, like, and it's just like, not every prisoner is some serial killer axe murderer. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people are in jail for years before the trials are even heard, right? And a lot of people are innocent in jail, but there are people who have committed a crime that do they not deserve any quality of life, right? We absolutely treat dogs better than human beings in general, but like, do we not look at how we can improve the condition? And like, that gets laughed at. That's why people, like, there are actually prison abolitionists. It's a small group, but there's a lot of people in America who feel like we should abolish prisons. And I kind of scoffed at that initially, which it sounds crazy initially, but it's much like the defunded police thing, right? Once you get into like what they're actually talking about, they're not talking about getting rid of it as a whole, like tomorrow, right? They're talking about different ways to envision how we treat crime in our communities. Just like same with the defunded police. They're not talking about getting rid of police officers. They're talking about different ways to allocate funds so that better equipped people handle situations that they're studied for, that is their expertise. Like a police officer, the same police officer that stops somebody for speeding is the same police officer that handles a domestic dispute, which is the same police officer that stops a robbery. Like, those are all very different skills of expertise in dealing with people, right? Whereas it's like a one-stop shop, and there's very little training that goes into that. And so, like, that's what they talk about. And I haven't got too deep into prison abolitionists. My sister's actually a prison abolitionist, and we have a lot of disagreements on things. But and I don't want to misrepresent their cause, but there's a definitely something needed to be done about a lot of the accommodations in prison, and how we view crime as a whole in this country is kind of abhorrent, which is why we have the most prisoners. We have the most prisoners.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of the prison abolition movement before, and yeah, I don't know enough about it. It sounds insane. It sounds crazy to me. And I'm happy to like read up if anybody has anything that they want to send my way. I'm happy to educate myself more on it, but it sounds nuts, especially when it comes to like violent criminals and people that are committing crimes, like endangering people's safety and lives. Like, that sounds, maybe I don't know the best way to deal with somebody like that, but it seems to me like if somebody is the type of person that would be selfish enough to, rob somebody with a deadly weapon or shoot somebody over their wallet, that they should probably not be trusted around law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, and like I said, it sounded crazy when I first came across it, but again, it's not. And I'm not. I don't know nearly enough to try to sit here and bang for their cause. But from what I do know about it, it's a different way of envisioning how we start to solve the roots of why people commit crimes in the first place, rather than because like no, I don't think any of them will argue let all the prisoners out tomorrow. I don't think nobody's arguing that. But talking about just the abolishment of the system that we have, which is a system, right? Privatized prisons, people getting paid to put people in these prisons, like beds got to be filled. The different laws need to be changed as far as like drug offenses versus violent crime, like all that stuff. That's they talking about addressing that at a very large and active scale.
Yeah. So back to what you were talking about before, when it's the recidivism rate is so high. And you're thinking to yourself, well, there's a bunch of hardened criminals out there. Of course, they're going to commit a crime when they get out and go back to prison. Like a real life example of this would be 20 years ago, you get arrested for selling weed, right? Let's say that you've got like half a pound that you're selling. And this is an item that is now like basically legal in the United States to use. We had outdated marijuana laws for decades and decades that just never got changed until very, very recently. But people were going to prison for 10 years, for 20 years. If they had like a gun on their person while they were selling, half a pound of weed, they could end up going to jail for 20 years off that charge. So they get out 20 years later after having, losing half their life or a quarter of their life. They get out and then they can't get a job somewhere else. And so they have to start selling more drugs, and then they're right back in jail. So it's not like somebody that is a criminal psychopath all the time that falls into that trap. It can be like a pretty regular person that's not really a threat to society that you make into a bigger threat because they get out and they can't do anything legal to keep themselves out, or they can, but they're going to be making $6, $7 an hour and just going to be dirt poor for their entire lives. And so naturally, if you're in that position, you have an opportunity to make more money. You're probably going to consider it, because what kind of life is $7 an hour going to give you?
Yep. I mean, and then like when you look at all of those people that are in jail, like still to this day for those same marijuana laws that are absolutely outdated. I mean, even like so, like you say you had a pistol while you were selling weed, like of course you would, right? If you're selling drugs, it's a dangerous trade. Legally sold weed to this day is a dangerous trade, right? So when you go into any weed shop, there's usually an armed security guard there. So like it's the same concept. It's just we have progressed enough in society we realize that weed is not what we thought it was. But it's my hopes that soon we'll progress in society. We realize all drugs should be treated like that. But
yeah,
that's that is extreme. But it's really not.
Do we want to talk about any like specific prisons? I want to talk about Alcatraz a little bit.
Have you guys ever looked into prison tattoos?
I've heard some stuff about them, but I'm sure you know more.
They fascinate me. That when tattoos have long been, pretty regular in prison, and one of the things that people do to pass the time. But like, there's different tattoos meaning different things about different crimes, different gangs has always been like so cool to me, because, like, for example, you know that a spider web elbow tattoo, like amongst the prison population, denotes like however many points it has is how many years you have to serve. And if you've killed someone, there might be a fly in the web. And depending on what type of bug it is in the web, it might be like what other gang they were a part of.
I did not know that. No.
Is this true?
Yeah. The web amongst the prison population. There's tons of people running around with spider webs on their elbows, and it originally
plenty of times.
Yeah, it originally dates back to sailors who spend so much time with their elbow on the side of the ship looking for land that a spider could make a web on it. But that's like one of them that I heard. But in like Russian prison tattoos, like a cat on your foot denotes that they were a thief, and that was their crime. And then a star in Russian prisons how many points is how many years they've been in prison, or like a military insignia denotes that the prisoner was like a high-ranking member of their gang. This is for Russia, but and then in other gangs and stuff, like for example, the MS-13 has 13s that look like kiss marks that denote that they're an MS-13, but if guards ask, it means it's their girlfriend's kiss, but it's like a 3 on top of a 1 that looks like lips. Then there's like Aryan Nation stuff with like tons of like Nazi symbolism that denotes their affiliations, and then there's GDs, Gangster Disciples. It's just kind of fascinating how they like mark themselves to show they're different. Like there's tons of numerical ones. Like for example, 1%ers denote a biker gang, like a violent biker gang, like Hell's Angels, because there was a quote about only like the Harley Davidson president said that only 1% of bikers and biker gangs are criminal and violent in activity, and that denotes that they were part of a violent biker gang. And then there's, you know, like the fact that there's so much different stuff, and then, you know, like tattoos on people as a kid always fascinated me, because I was like, what do they all mean? Like, how do you decide what tattoo you get on?
Mm-hmm.
So like when I found out about this, I was like, whoa, like trying to spot them in real life.
Yeah, I've seen spider webs before. I didn't know what they meant.
Yeah, that's probably only denotes, like for example, 3 dots. It denotes like hospital, like prison, hospital, and then the funeral home. Like the 3 places this life of crime sends you. And then there's like the Latin Kings is like they have crown.
Yeah. So what about being on death row? Do you guys, what would that be like? Going to death row, having like a date that you knew that you were going to die.
Do you think they deserve a final meal?
Sure. Yeah.
Their victims didn't.
Seems fair
No,
enough.
like where they get to customize their meal.
Yeah, we know what it is.
But they didn't. Their victims didn't get a final meal.
That's true. That's very sad. Like
I
I'm
mean,
I'm not out here. I don't.
They just didn't know it was their final meal.
I don't like love people that are on death row, like the guilty murderers out there. I don't think that they should deserve like any tears for the crimes that they've committed. But on the other hand, I also don't think that the government should be able to kill anybody.
So
I've never heard this mentioned as a sticking point in the death penalty conversation.
Well, it is because this one guy, his name was Ralph Lawrence Russell Brewer. He had a huge elaborate request for his last meal. He wanted a triple bacon cheeseburger, a meat lover's pizza, 3 root beers, a peanut butter fudge ice cream, an omelet, fried okra, and a pound of barbecued meat, and a double order of chicken fried steak. And that basically and he then refused to eat a single bite. And then basically it outraged a Texas senator who then ended the long-standing practice of allowing Texas inmates to request last meals. So since
he ruined it for everybody.
Yeah,
I think they changed it to it has to be something they can make there.
Yeah,
I
in
think
the prison,
used to be able to like they would go get you whatever.
Yeah, that guy's a real asshole.
Yeah.
On top of whatever crime he actually committed.
He was, but then his last act
racist,
was also being an asshole.
Hate killing.
All right, so yeah, definitely
racially motivated hate crime.
I don't believe in the death penalty at all. So,
are you so outraged by final meals?
No, I'm just, it's a debate that people have, so I was raising it to the show.
I think
fair enough.
I think if you're gonna kill somebody, then if they want to have like a double cheeseburger 6 hours before they die, then yeah, sure, that's not really like.
It's more for the guards to feel good about themselves that they're killing somebody, but like we'll give them a good last meal so that we feel better.
Yeah, that's probably part of it.
I mean, I think it's. I mean, maybe, but I think it's more so like a tip to the at least if we're gonna do some inhumane shit, let's do some humane shit before we do.
Yeah. So yeah, death. I don't think that there should be a death penalty. I think that like we've talked about this on the show before, I'm sure, but like if somebody killed a member of my family, yes, I would want them to die. I would want them dead. Absolutely. Like, fuck them. Let's kill them. Like, give me the gun. I'll do it myself. But like for the government to decide who lives and dies is kind of fucked up.
On the grounds that it's more expensive to kill somebody than keep them alive for the rest of their life, that's why I'm against the death penalty.
I don't think it stops crime. I don't think
It's fiscally
irresponsible.
Yeah.
Fiscally irresponsible.
I don't think it
But
stops
I would
crime
think
at
you
all.
as a libertarian should be against the government sanctioned killings.
Well,
Like it should go against what you
I
stand
understand it.
for.
I mean, the death penalty is something that has existed since the dawn of time. So it's something that's so ingrained in humanity, like groups of people, like communities have always, designated either through, banishment or just killing them in the town square, that like sometimes there's individuals in the community that most people, like a lot of them deem need to go.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that's different than a government saying
Right.
it's time for us to end a life.
Right. It fiscally is not effective. And plus, I think living with your crimes is worse than, it also has to do with what do you think happens after death.
Yeah, and also you have to take into account that it's not infallible. So we've killed people that were innocent, and so if there was a way for it to be like 100% effective, then you'd have like a much stronger argument. But we've murdered people that have not been guilty of murder, and so we've just like straight up the government's committed murder at that point.
It just doesn't make it just logically makes zero sense to kill somebody to show that killing somebody is wrong. It makes zero sense to me. And I've heard every argument, it just doesn't make no sense.
I think the estimates are that like up to 7 or 8%, I believe, of people on death row like might be innocent, which is pretty insane if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot.
It is.
Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah.
And if you look across the world in terms of like developed nations, it's like the United States, China, those India, like economically advanced nations right now. There are very few. I guess you can make the case Egypt probably economically advanced. But yeah, it's like no European countries have it. No South American countries have it. Australia doesn't have it. Canada doesn't have it. Russia doesn't have it. Russia doesn't even have it.
I'm surprised no countries in South America.
Yeah, I think they're more like execution on the spot type thing. I see a lot of crazy cartel, Brazil, favela videos of police chases and them just shooting them.
That probably happens sometimes. Yeah.
Like if they like.
Well, that's different than the death penalty, though.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of officer.
We still have government
shootings.
killings. A lot.
Yeah,
Police
there's
officers still kill. Our military still kill people.
There's a wild story about this dude that started a crime. It was like a crime YouTube channel, I think, in Brazil, to document what's happening in his town because there was a shitload of crime, and so he would show up on the scene of every violent act that happened right afterwards. And he would like film the bodies and be like, "Look, this is what's happening," intended to shock people, and people loved it because they're like, "Thank you for speaking out. No one's telling the real story about what's happening on the ground here." And this guy became like a national icon in Brazil. And then it got to the point where they found out that he was actually doing some of the killings.
Oh,
so
shit.
that he would be first on the scene and have the footage of like these bodies that were still smoking from being lit on fire before the cops got there. So he was actually the one that was doing a lot of them. And yeah, he got arrested. Probably as he should. That person, I'm willing to hear arguments for why that guy individually should be killed 100%. Like better to not have him out there, like just number one, actually murdering people. Two, like exaggerating things that are actually really problems in his own town. So that's pretty fucked up. Yeah. Wild shit, right? There's a jail in Texas. I think it's the Harris County penitentiary in Texas that has, I think, like 30 people have died there in the last couple of years because they don't do air conditioning in the summertime, and people have died of like dehydration and shit like that. So there are definitely some places that are still very much the mindset like we don't owe them anything. They're prisoners. let's just, they got themselves in this mess. Good luck if you have any sort of pre-existing condition. You come in here, you're probably going to die. I think there was one where people get like gangrene all the time. It might be the same prison in Texas.
You know what's crazy? Like there used to back when like mental health was like unheard of, like no one dealt with it. There was a study in the 60s and 70s that found that a large percentage of the prison population had XYY chromosomes. And it didn't relate to, they exaggerate a lot of the findings, but a large amount of the population like had like basically a genetic disorder that gave them behavioral issues, which has stigmatized the disease, but because it probably wasn't treated, Klinefelter syndrome, which is actually pretty crazy. Having 2 Y chromosomes, and people who have it tend to be taller and like have more masculine features. And I want to know how many NFL players have XYY disease, because if they're like a freak of nature
And violent.
yeah, like that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You guys want to talk Alcatraz or specific prisons? Some fun facts about Alcatraz. They claim nobody ever escaped, but I don't believe that shit. I don't believe that shit at all. There's I think 4 people escaped Alcatraz, and they found their belongings floating in the bay, but they never found the bodies, and so they just told everybody, yeah, this person died swimming across the channel, and they definitely didn't survive. But you could easily swim from Alcatraz to the shore if you were a decent swimmer.
Didn't the brothers in the UFC do it? Just fought Jake Paul. I'm blanking on his name right now. Nate Diaz. The Diaz brothers. Didn't they swim across from Alcatraz?
I think Nate Diaz could do anything. Yeah. If he was high enough.
He also says, Nate was like, I hate doing these triathlons. That's Nick's thing, but like I always end up doing them.
Yeah.
He's a man.
So Alcatraz, Al Capone was there, and he played banjo in a prison band on Alcatraz. I like that they let them have a little band out there. Machine Gun Kelly was also imprisoned in Alcatraz. The original Machine Gun Kelly. I knew Mad Dog was going to get psyched out by that one. Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly is actually the second Machine Gun Kelly. He was named after the original.
You didn't know that?
Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh my god.
And there were a lot of people that tried to get transferred to Alcatraz because the food there was good, and also each individual inmate had their own cell. So not as bad as it could be. They had hot showers in Alcatraz. It was 5 people that escaped and were never seen again. They also shot a bunch of people that tried to escape. They can just shoot you if you try to escape prison. They can just
actually,
yeah, they can cap you.
Still,
I don't know about
if you're trying to escape prison, can they just shoot you?
I don't know.
I think so.
They probably can. Yeah. Like that dude that just escaped, the Eagles fan.
Oh, the modern fleeing felony rule permits police officers to use deadly force when necessary to prevent the escape of a person who has committed a violent felony.
How would they know in that moment? Like if they just see somebody escaping.
I think as we saw the officers who caught the last guy who escaped the place around Philly, like they like catching them live to take pictures of them.
Yeah, but that's like, okay, you see him out. You finally found him. If you actively see a guy jumping over the fence, he's about to escape. Obviously, your instinct is to shoot.
No, it's probably, not to shoot. I think they rather catch him live.
So you would let that guy go? I feel like you would get fired and potentially go to jail yourself.
No, you call like, hey, there's a guy scaling the fence. We better go check that out. Or, hey, stop what you're doing or I'll shoot you.
Yeah, I promise they're just shooting.
Yep. Tell them about the gun line, boss. I don't watch Life. It's okay.
Life's good.
It's the gun line.
We pronounced the defendant Quilty. I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's a G. It looked like a Q.
Is
that from Life? That's not Life?
What are we talking about?
What the fuck are you guys
What is
talking
Life?
I don't know what.
The cereal?
What PFT talking about? No, Life is the movie with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. It's all black cast, so you probably wouldn't know what it was.
I've seen a good share of all black cast movies
but it's not what I mean by that. It's not like universally known to y'all. Like so to me, Life is a classic movie. Yeah. So like y'all listen to Taylor Swift, I listen to Cameron. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of moment. Like so like Life is like usually all black casts don't get a lot of play in in like, the upper echelon of Hollywood. So it's not a well-known movie, but to me, it's like a classic. Like we grew up on it.
It's good.
Oh, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. I think it's my favorite comedy of all time.
I'll check
Hilarious.
it
The dope shit about it is there's a lot of parts that, because there's so many like prominent comedians in there. Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, Bernie Mac.
R.I.P.
It goes on and on. Yeah, R.I.P. But like there's so many parts in the movie that were improvised. That when you watch the deleted scenes in the credit, like you can see him improvising. Like, and so there's one scene where Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence are in the governor's mansion, and right before they go to sleep, that entire scene, when you watch the director's cut, that entire scene was improvised. None of it was written down, and they just bantering back and forth, talking shit to each other. Shit's brilliant. It's a great movie.
It is. So I mixed it up with Let's Go to Prison, the movie with Bob Odenkirk, where they found him. They found him guilty, but the guy said quilty.
It's a classic.
In life, is that the one where the guy's like, "Are going to eat your cornbread"?
Yeah,
that's a great scene too.
Yeah, that's the one. What's a classic though? Have you seen My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah,
I'm talking maybe the funniest first 15 minutes of a movie in movie history, dog. Fucking hilarious, dog. Oh my god. So
Do you not remember we had a whole thing on this show about My Cousin Vinny because I hadn't seen it?
Nah, I mean, shit. This is we're going on year 3, Big T. I can't remember anything.
It wasn't that long ago.
And have you seen it now?
Yeah, you don't remember either. We talked about it afterwards. Whole thing. It was a whole thing.
It escapes me.
I don't remember it either.
I think.
Right, well, yeah,
Big T's gaslighting us.
I think so.
Someone out there will find the episode where we talked about it because it's the only reason I watched it. Very good movie.
Yeah, very good. The two Utes.
I'm gonna watch that. On
the two Utes. The two Utes. The funny one is, so they're at the arraignment where the judge is gonna tell him like what's going on in the proceedings, and he falls asleep, and then so the prosecution goes, and then he goes and he gets up there. He goes, "Yeah, everything that guy says there is bullshit." Fucking hilarious stuff. Comedy.
Joe Pesci.
Oh,
good guy.
Flight got delayed.
Oh, sorry, Billy. Hey, thanks, Mayor Pete.
Yeah.
Had it again.
Now I can.
His finger on the button.
Now I can podcast longer.
So yeah, what other prison facts do we want to talk about, or anything having to do with prison in general? I think that the chaplains in prison, I think that they're working in concert with the COs, with the people that run the prison, because it's supposed to be like a person that you can talk to that's not like your lawyer, but they're not allowed to share any information. I bet you prison chaplains are given the behind the scenes scoops.
They're working dirty.
I think they're working dirty because they're kind of, they can be convinced. I'll say that.
I have a question.
Men of God, come on.
I have a question for you guys. Would you guys, if it was a Blackbird situation, would you guys go into a prison to snitch on someone?
Well, if it was my only option, I was like gonna go for something else.
It's not
if
like
it was
your only
what?
option. Like if you guys got sent to prison for like not a serious charge, let's call it drug trafficking, like nothing violent, and you could go to a different prison and try to get information out of someone, but then you risk like becoming known as a snitch. Would you do it? Would you take the risk to commute your sentence?
That sounds like a high risk situation. And
do you think you could get information out of someone? Like if you like became buddy with someone in jail, do you think you could like get info out of them?
I don't think I'm built like
rat.
that.
That's what a rat is. That's a rat.
No, I mean, if I was like caught, like it depends on how serious the crime was. If I was facing serious time, I'd absolutely do it.
20
You're
years.
a rat.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not a criminal.
But
She just said you were selling drugs.
No, but like, let's say
he's not a criminal.
Okay,
what if this hypothetically was different?
What is no, but like, let's say, what would you serve? What is the most non-criminal thing that accidentally you could do to get you in a serious manslaughter?
Non-criminal?
No, like you're not a criminal, but you get turned into a criminal in an instant. Let's say you
hit
someone with your car.
That's anyone who becomes a criminal.
No, but let's say you're PFT and you're not a criminal, and you're driving to work one day, and you aren't paying attention. You're on your phone. You're on your phone.
Guess what, Billy? You're now a criminal.
Yeah, you're describing a criminal.
Right. But like, you're not living a life of crime, but then you're looking at your phone and you hit Chaps with your car, and
you're a criminal.
This time, Chaps doesn't make it.
Okay, so yeah, you committed a crime.
I know, but like
You're a
remember-
rat.
You did-
What we've heard here is Billy's
What is
a
a
rat.
life of crime? It's you a cop.
No, but
Billy.
you
What is a life of
remember
crime?
we were just talking with the fridge, and he was like, "You snitch if you're not in like dealing drugs, if you're not like."
Yeah, but that's different.
in a
Hold on.
gang.
So you're conflating two different things, right?
Okay.
So he's saying if you in that life, right, and everybody in their life will tell you if you in that life and you take a deal to try to get somebody else in there with you, that's snitching. That's snitching. But if you're in jail for manslaughter and they offer you, say, hey, can you get information out of this? You're still a criminal. You're in there. You don't have to live a life of crime. What did that man do to you just because you want less of time? Handle your time like a man. You did the crime.
No, but I'm
That's
not about that
ratty.
life. I'm not about that life.
It ain't about that. They asking you working with the state to try to go get some other man. It has nothing to do with you.
Well, no, but like if he was a
You're a
serial
rat.
killer, I'd absolutely rat
You're
on
a
a
rat.
serial killer.
Nah,
you would not rather-
You
No,
this-
but it's
This
it's
is
Billy-
not the.
Billy
No, but it was a
football loves
Blackbird-
changing the goalpost.
no,
and
it was a
it's-
Blackbird situation. Was it not a Blackbird situation? Can we get so in Blackbird, the guy is sent after a serial killer.
I'm not allowing
Okay.
you to change the goalpost. once
I'm
you get
not
there.
changing the goalpost.
This
That's what the
was
original goalposts were.
Maddie's hypothetical.
Maddie, can you set the goalpost?
To be
please?
fair, that is what she was talking about.
Yeah.
He was
I
so-
didn't-
no, it's not.
I haven't seen Blackbird,
Well,
so I,
yeah, yeah.
I did not know that this was a serial
That's
killer
fair.
situation.
I did not specify that the person you were ratting on was a serial killer. I was taking an example, but I did not specify it would be a serial
It
killer.
Okay,
was-
but let's say it's not.
If it was like a drug dealer or someone who
Yeah.
grew up with situations that cause
In a life of crime?
then in a life of crime, I would not rat on them. But if it was someone who committed tax fraud, if it was like it was Bernie Madoff, if it was some dude, we can all
There's a
agree
big
is
difference between tax fraud and Bernie Madoff.
right? But like if it's someone who we all universally agree like that guy sucks, then I would do it.
All right, so I would if a Bernie Madoff guy was in my cell and I was in there for manslaughter, and he was like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm running a $14 billion Ponzi scheme on the outside," and he told that to me, and then I knew I could then tell that to somebody. I think there's also a difference between somebody giving you that information and you passing it rather than having like the police come to you and be like, hey, try to get this person to admit to something. I think that there's a difference there. And if it's a dude that's like committing like, $13-15 billion worth of fraud, I could probably turn him in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it was a serial killer or someone that we all universally could be like, fuck that guy, like
Serial killer is a little bit different too. Serial killer, it's like, wait, this guy's going to get out of jail and then he's going to kill again.
now I wouldn't a mobster who may have the same kill count as a serial killer because a mobster is well connected and you'd be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you a rat.
What the?
Yeah, you a little rat, dog. It's all right. Remind me not to do nothing illegal around you, Billy.
Sometimes I do think that Billy has a portfolio of things that he's witnessed.
No, I don't.
And he's like, I cannot
no.
wait. I cannot wait
No.
to turn this binder filled with material over.
No.
Did you have the opportunity to rat on anybody in your 6 hours in jail?
Nah, they let me alone.
When I went to jail for a night and I just started doing push-ups. in
What,
the
you
cell.
did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a little public intoxication.
They'll get you every time.
Well, it actually wasn't.
She must have been doing. So what was you doing? Okay?
Yeah, I'll tell you the exact story. It actually ended up not being public intoxication. It was like in Virginia, the code was public. What is it? It's the same charge as like swearing. It's like swearing in
Disorderly
public.
conduct?
Maybe disorderly /
It's not
swearing.
illegal to swear in public.
It was in Virginia at the time, and it was like a $50 fine that they would get you on. But what happened was I was going home from a party on St. Patrick's Day, and so it was technically March 18th, and I was like, I had my hair spray painted green, I had like an Irish soccer jersey on, and I was walking down the street, and I was on the phone with a friend, and a cop just pulled up beside me because I was walking back to campus on my own at like 2:30 in the morning, and he's obviously like probably coming home from a party from an area of houses that have parties. This guy's probably drunk. The guy pulled up next to me and he was like, hey, where are you going? I was like, just back to campus. He's like, what have you had to drink tonight? I was like, I just had a couple Guinnesses to celebrate. And he's like, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 18, or I guess I was 19 at the time. And then he gives me the sobriety test, which I ace. There was a time where I actually did sobriety tests for the state of Texas or for Travis County when they're training like their deputies, and they have you get drunk in like a clinical environment so that the cops can test you and learn signs of being drunk and how to administer the test. It turns out I'm actually awesome at all the sobriety tests.
How did you get that gig?
So my friend, her mom worked for the sheriff's department, and they do this once a year where they have the new batch of recruits. They have to teach them how to do sobriety tests, right? Because you can't just send a cop out there with no training. So they do this, I think it's once a year. They position you into control groups. So like there'll be 5 people in the class that don't have anything to drink, 5 or 10 people that have enough to get you to like a 0.09 area. And then there'll be like 5 or 10 people that agree to get all the way up to like a 0.12, 0.13. And then they test you. So what they do is they put you in a room, they put stand-up comedy on the TV, and the cop comes up, he weighs everybody in the room, administers whatever your alcohol of choice is into a graduated cylinder, like it's science. So he's like, okay, you're going to get this many milliliters right now. And then after they serve everybody, they're like, okay, you can start drinking. They start a clock. And then you can play card games. They give you like board games and shit. And then after like 20, 30 minutes, they're like, okay, finish your drinks right now. You need drink number 2. And so you have to finish your drink then. Then they give you drink number 2. And that is, again, carefully measured out to your desired level of drunkenness for the experiment. And then after that, they send you out for the first round of tests. So you have deputies or not deputies, but you have trainees that are giving you like the walk the line test, the stand on 1 foot test, touch your nose with your eyes closed, the flashlight in your eyes going side to side, the follow the pen. They do all those. They send you back into the room. You have more alcohol. Then they send you out for a last time and they test you again. And then at the end, the officers have to say, okay, I observed this person being drunk. I would take them to jail. I would take this person to jail. I would not take this person to jail. Then they score the officers at the end of all of it. So what I learned doing that test is I can ace all the sobriety tests. I'm really good at them. Like I got no points deducted across the board on the walk the line, on the touch your nose thing, any of those. But what will fuck you up is the pen going side to side where they say follow it with your eyes, don't turn your head. Because, well, first of all, most people will turn their head if they're drunk. They'll like forget the instructions. And also when the pen gets to the very side of your field of vision, your eyes will start to flutter if you're drunk. And you can't control that. It's like all the other motor skills you can control except for that one. So I got dinged on those. But I was, I think it was a 0.13, 0.14.
But
Damn.
that's scary though, because like at the same time, you may have a higher tolerance, but your BAC would be illegal.
Yeah.
So you might drive a car thinking that you're totally fine.
Well, so the conclusion I came to was the first time that they tested me, they give you a breathalyzer before you go out there so they can see what your BAC actually is before they test you. At that point, I was like, I would not drive right now if I felt like this. I could feel it. I was like, I would not get behind the wheel, and I was a 0.08. So I knew that I was drunk.
It's 0.02 is 1 drink in an hour.
Depending on weight and your gender.
But I think it's like 160-pound male. It's like 4 beers in an hour is illegal, is the limit. Mm-hmm. And as a 235-pound male, I always stick with that. Because you can't judge, because if you like are just going off feeling, because you have like a higher tolerance of some sort, like you don't know.
Used to. Not anymore. I was like 30 at the time, 29 at the time. So yeah, apparently I can do those tests really well, except for the eye thing.
Sick flex.
Yeah. But
you're so good at drunk.
I aced the field sobriety test when I got arrested, and then the guy kept trying to make me blow into the breathalyzer, and I kept saying no, because you don't actually have to consent to that. You can just say no, and they have a hard time proving. But eventually,
Wait, is this in the test?
No, this was like back when I actually got arrested.
Oh, okay.
So I kept saying no, and then the guy kept asking me, and eventually he wore me down. And so I pretended to blow into it, and it wasn't working because I obviously wasn't blowing hard enough. Then he's like, okay, you know what? I still think that you're drunk. I'm taking you to jail. So I spent the night in jail, got like a $50 fine, and then I had to walk back through campus with like all my Irish paraphernalia on at like 3 p.m. the day after St. Patrick's Day.
I think that was just old-fashioned anti-Irish sentiment.
I think you're right, Billy.
Yeah.
I think they put me in the paddy wagon.
Yeah, they did.
That's what I think.
They did.
How was your time in jail?
I did push-ups because I was like, that's what you're supposed to be doing here. I was an idiot. I was a moron. And they like gave me Cheerios for breakfast, like some dry ass Cheerios. And I think I told the guy like, I can't eat this. Like I'm gluten free, or just to like fuck with I was being an asshole at the time.
Were you in
a cell or did you were just like in a holding cell?
They put me in it was a holding cell with I was the first one in there. And then by morning time, there were probably like 10 people in there with me.
That would be a funny skit where a guy goes to jail for like he doesn't know how long he's gonna be in there, and he just immediately joins the Arian Nation, and then he gets out and he's got all these tattoos, and he was like, dude, you're in jail for 2 days.
Listen, Billy, I did what I had to do to get by for the 12 hours I was locked up. Okay, you can't judge me for anything. But yeah, that's my only jail story.
Yeah, it's wild.
Jail has some pretty interesting cuisine.
Lobster.
Actually, you've made some prison meals on camera.
I have the jail burrito.
Yeah.
That was for my friend who was locked up for like a year and a half. When he got out, he was like, this was like the best thing that we could get from commissary. We would get ramen. We would get some sort of hot fries and any type of chip, really. And then you crush it all up into as fine of a powder as you can get, or like, tiny crumbs. And then you put the ramen seasoning in there. You use hot water from the sink, and you pour. What you do is you mix all of them in one bag of chips. You pour hot water from the sink in there, and then you roll it up into about the shape of a burrito. Then you put it under your mattress for like an hour, and they called that the oven. And while it's in there, it'll eventually form like just a giant log of salt. And then you take it out, eat it with a plastic fork. Actually delicious. It tastes good.
What's in it? What's the ingredients?
It's ramen noodles, like one of those 25-cent packs of ramen, hot fries, and then any type of chip that you happen to have on deck. But you mix them all together into the crumbs, and it blends together and just becomes like one log. It looks like a burrito when you take it out.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's good.
Something that I actually used to make in college. You remember when you're in college? This is the only way I can relate to prison cuisine because there's weird college.
I remember when I was in college, it was just like prison.
No, but like just doing stuff with the ramen. Like I was reading like some of these prison recipes that there's actually a prison blog that's like written for prisoners that's directed at prisons. And this one guy was like, my favorite prison meals. It was like he was giving this like cooking blog. Yeah. But it was like this, but like his blogger name was like 2-time Ronnie and something. But his was and it's prison pad thai, and it's ramen, peanut butter, and hot sauce. And then if you have any sort of meat, you put it in there. And I was like, I used to make peanut butter and ramen in college.
Yeah, I would eat that
in hot sauce, and it's actually really freaking good.
I would 100% eat that.
It's literally just peanut butter, ramen, hot sauce. So it was like the easiest thing to make.
The ramen packets?
I don't think you put the packets in it,
okay.
But it's just the noodle.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I was listening to some podcasts to prepare for this episode, and there's a lot of podcasts out there done by people who are currently locked up. Like they do them over a phone.
Really?
Yeah. People like they talk about prison, about their jail experiences that they've had. If they're only in like county jail. Yeah, there's a shitload of podcasts out there. You have to know where to look for them. And I'm sure that if you get caught, like our dude, Billy McFarland.
Yeah.
When he was in prison with a situation, he did a podcast episode, and the judge didn't like that very much. I would listen to a podcast that was like two cellmates, just like chopping it up
and just gossiping about the prison.
Yeah.
And then the whole podcast listenership just starts to know the intricacies and like characters. Like,
yes.
Yo, that 2-time Ronnie's over there chefing up, but he didn't want to cook for us today. What the fuck?
Yeah, they took away my nice pillow. They said it was contraband. They found my porn again.
Officer Johnson is always jacking my shit.
Yeah.
He's messing with me.
I wouldn't even have to know any of the backstories behind him, but just like getting thrown into that world, I would listen. I'm going to start listening to some of these ones that I found today.
I see TikTok lives all the time of guys that are in jail.
Yeah.
Like, how is that going on? I mean, obviously, I understand there are phones in there like all the time, but they're out in like the middle of the pod and whatever, like on TikTok Live.
Mm-hmm.
You would think they'd get in trouble for that. I don't. Obviously, I guess not. But
Yeah.
From my understanding, the CEOs are kind of in on it. Like, not kind of. A lot of them are in on it. Like, they'll smuggle shit in, give them shit.
yeah,
Part of it. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of the phones, that tweet you sent into the group is hilarious.
yeah.
Just-
I'm not reading it.
Okay,
There was a
I'll-
tweet earlier that just said like, "Best of luck to all the guys in jail," when the alert thing went off earlier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
crazy,
God, that
actually.
sucks. That's probably why they did it.
Could be.
Imagine
Right?
there was the prisoners. They were like, "Oh man, it's 2:20. I got 2 minutes."
Or you're in a movie.
Yeah, and
that
it went
shit
off
goes
early, so if they didn't turn it off in time,
They're like, "I get back to my cell at 2:19. I get off at 2:15. I can make it back in 4 minutes." And then he's too late to get there.
Or like high school kids, you're not allowed to have your phone on probably in class.
much
Well, no,
lower
that- yeah.
stakes.
Yeah, definitely.
Imagine if you've been scheming for like 2 months to like get a phone into prison and you finally got it like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And then today that shit goes off.
Yeah.
Tough.
The TikTok dances from prison are objectively hilarious.
They are pretty good. I was listening to a podcast of this guy that just recently got out of jail, and he was talking about how in prison in the halfway house, you weren't allowed to have cell phones, but he would always like figure out ways to get new cell phones, and they would just take them and confiscate them. But then when he got out, they gave him all his cell phones back that they confiscated. So he left the halfway house with just like a bag with 7 cell phones, and he's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all this stuff. What do I do with all these phones? That would be shocking though, to go in, and we get into this with Arian's friend Big Fridge in a little bit, but it'd be shocking to get out of jail or prison and see how much society has evolved. That's like kind of a point at the end of Shawshank Redemption where Brooks that gets out?
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Brooks. Spoiler.
That movie's what, 1994? If you haven't seen it by now.
Yeah, but he gets out, and he went into prison before cars were a thing. And then he gets out, and he's like terrified of the world because there's these giant cars driving around
The
everywhere.
world went and got itself in a big damn hurry.
Yep. Brooks was here. So was Red. Damn.
What a
Greatest prison movie. Greatest prison movie. One of the greatest movies. of all
Greatest
time,
movie
honestly.
for my money.
Really, the
I
mid
can't
'90s.
argue that one.
I feel like the mid '90s had some of the best movies of all time.
Yeah.
You just old.
Yeah, probably.
Matt
Don't be that old
Damon.
guy.
Yeah.
Some
Matt
great
Damon-
movies coming out now.
In my day, shocker, when I was like 9 to 13 years old, the pieces of pop culture that I was witnessing made a huge impact on my
I
life.
tell
and
you
think that
what,
they're
they
the
don't
best
make
ever.
The Sandlot. They don't make them like that anymore.
They don't. You ever go back and watch something that you thought was great when you were a kid, and you're like, I was stupid. Like, this
Oh,
shit
it's
sucks.
100%, a whole bunch of dog shit ass movies. But even then, you still love it because of the nostalgia it brings back. But it's like this dog shit movie. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Matt Damon talked about how how blockbuster success hasn't translated to as much money for individuals and studios, and that the quality of movie has gone down because of that.
Because of Blockbuster.
I don't know,
Because
man.
of
Well,
beginning with Blockbuster and
what era is he
Netflix,
talking about? Because,
but now streaming has really caused.
but I'm saying,
Like-
what era is he talking about where the
Like-
movies were so much better? Because
I would say, like, remember that stretch where Leo made 3 movies in the same, like, Catch Me If You Can, Titanic, and Romeo and Juliet were like all in like a 3-year span. I may be totally pulling that out of my ass, but he like when they were making these big movies and all of them were bangers.
Romeo and Juliet sucks.
Well, that's the
I
time
wouldn't
period I'm
say
trying
it
to use.
sucks.
I'd agree with Big T.
It
I don't
sucks.
think it sucks. I don't think it sucks.
I remember
It's just
watching
not
that
as-
movie and I was like, this movie is awful.
Well, that's because it was in the original Shakespeare.
Not all of it.
They changed up some parts, but like they were using the word for word.
I don't
That's
think
not why it
I didn't think it was
sucks.
horrible. I didn't think it was horrible.
I thought it was
I
decent.
enjoyed it.
it's Romeo
But-
and Juliet,
I don't know,
but they've
man.
got guns.
Like that beginning scene was pretty cool.
I think that like Star Wars, right? When you go back and watch the first Star Wars, bro, that shit is booty. That shit is horrible, bro. Horrible. So like, I don't know, man. I think we always get lost in the back of my day shit. Entertainment is pretty fire right now, dog. Like the amount of like Avatar, shit like that coming out, like some innovative shit going on. I don't know, man.
Do you think people
Good script writing.
people that were in prison back in like the 70s and 80s are like, man, in my day, prison was so much better than it is now. Like kids these days don't know how good we had it back then.
Everything.
I actually
Everything.
I would be very intrigued to talk to somebody who's been in prison for 30, 40 years and see how prison has changed.
Yeah.
Because, like, obviously we know how the world has changed, but, like, that is your world.
Do
So
you think they have like class elections in prison?
I think that's just gangs.
Like class president?
I don't think democracy.
I'm sure there's some
reigns
sort
in
of, like,
gangs.
inmate liaison.
Yeah, inmate council.
There's probably something like that.
Yeah. Inmate advisory council. Like if you have if you have problems with the food, take it up with the IAC.
It's definitely
The
nerds.
leadership council.
Yeah, the leadership council.
Who do you think the nerds in prison are?
The nerds and probably just nerds. Martin Shkreli,
Yeah,
people like that.
but like the ones that get involved in like student government.
Yeah, I don't know.
He said it. The dudes that be going to like the prison library and stuff.
Yeah. I think that would be my move. I would try. I think at first I would be very, very nervous if I went to prison. And then I would try not to talk to anybody. And then gradually I'd slowly come out of my shell gradually as the sentence went on. But I would not be the kind of guy that would come in there hot. I would just be
Hey
like,
Eric,
"Please,
what are
no
you
one
in
talk to
for?
me." Yeah. I don't know in this hypothetical. I
Well,
ran over
around-
Uncle Chaps.
Oh, we got a fight later on with blacks. Are you in?
Are you drafting me?
Yeah, you
It's
don't
like
have a choice,
kickball?
brother. Are you in?
Wait, are we fighting? Am I fighting with the blacks or am I fighting
No.
against the blacks?
You're fighting against the blacks. We're fighting the blacks later
He's
on.
the other kind of area.
Oh, okay,
And
gotcha.
if you're successful,
Yeah. Okay.
if you're successful, you get a
what-
swastika tattoo on
What
your
did they?
forehead.
What did they do?
They existed.
I think I'm just gonna probably like hang out and read the newspaper.
Oh, you're a
I'm gonna-
Negro sympathizer, are you?
I'm gonna do some crosswords.
Okay. See how
Yeah.
that works out for you. Good luck with your crossword puzzle.
Yeah, I don't. This whole conversation makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know what you do with it.
Is there like a white gang in prison that isn't racist?
I want to join
they're-
that one.
I think they're all pretty notoriously racist.
Like is that
Dudes.
maybe just start it like just like
Just
a
dudes
bro
in
gang?
prison.
A gang of bros in prison that just
Where's
like
the frat brothers that just want to, crush up some ramen and make some burritos under the?
And
Where are
get
those
gains.
guys?
Yeah.
just lift maybe.
I think we should all start a gang called the Arian Brotherhood, but Arian,
Uh-huh.
and we're all just big Texans fans.
Yeah.
That joke has been.
We all just wear Arian jerseys.
The
That
precursor
joke has
of the
been-
Stroud boys.
That joke has been around since my UT days.
Oh really?
Well, I haven't heard it, so I made it in my brain.
Yeah, they're like, should we start the Aryan Nation or the Aryan Brotherhood? Yeah, I've heard that since UT.
All right. Do we want to do voicemail or two?
Oh, I'm really quickly beat off about something.
All right.
The Navy's trying to drug test the Navy SEALs. And that's fucking bullshit.
Okay. Why
Because I want our Navy SEAls to be juiced out of their fucking minds.
are they testing them for steroids?
Yeah.
Is that because like some side effects of either being on steroids or steroid withdrawals would have detrimental effects in the field of battle?
Probably, but I'd rather them be G.I. Joes and like superhuman.
Okay.
Just
All right.
because the Russians are definitely doping.
Oh yeah, we know that.
The Russians are definitely doing state sanctioned doping. So if our boys aren't under the juice,
I say sure. I guess I agree with Billy on this one.
yeah,
Let the boys juice.
let the SEALs juice.
Yeah, but maybe the other stuff. Probably not. I'd rather they not be like coked up. Maybe actually no. Maybe
Actually,
I would.
no, like modafinil is something they were also talking about was a problem, which I think is like a stimulant.
Yeah, sure. What the hell? Let them have a little fun.
Like methed up.
Is it illegal for men
Boy,
to have
yeah.
hobbies anymore?
Yeah.
It's messed up.
I mean, they'll let them get a bullet inside of them, but not steroids.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go to our interview with Big Fridge, and he's being brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. After the interview, we've got voicemail, so stick around after the interview. But here he is. It's Big Fridge and it's brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. A new Straight Talk Wireless offering is available starting on October 5th. That's today. Starting today, you can get a Walmart Plus membership included on select Straight Talk Wireless plans for free. Only Straight Talk Wireless gives you unlimited data, talk, and text, plus a Walmart Plus membership included on select plans for free. Some of the perks of Walmart Plus through Straight Talk Wireless plans are you get free delivery from Walmart stores. How about that? Free shipping, no order minimum. That's great. You get a Paramount Plus membership on top of that, and you get member prices on fuel, so you get gas savings. We all know that gas prices, being what they are, pretty high right now. You want to save some money on that. Great way to do that is with Walmart Plus membership, and the great way to get that for free is with Straight Talk Wireless on select plans. Check it out. Straight Talk Wireless is available at Walmart and walmart.com. Again, sounds like the free delivery from Walmart would make it all worthwhile. Free shipping with no order minimum, and you get it all through Straight Talk Wireless, and you can find Straight Talk Wireless at Walmart and walmart.com. Save some money.
All right, man, we're going to get to this interview with a good friend of mine. I've been knowing him for years, man. And I think he just has a powerful story, who's very knowledgeable about, the system that he was in, and more so on how to try to change things in his community, in his neighborhood. And he's leading the forefront of that. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, man. We call you Big Fridge, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
How y'all doing? My name is Calvin, Big Fridge Bryant, from Nashville, Tennessee, 37 years old, born and raised here.
Yeah, man. So I know you from back in the day, man. When I went to college in Tennessee, a bunch of my dudes is from Nashville. Some of my best friends from there. And we just got to mixing around, hanging out with the cats they hung out with, and our friends become their friends, and so I kind of knew you from that. But and knowing you, man, I kind of got your backstory. Like I said, a couple of my guys was into the Nashville scene, and I just found it intriguing, kind of following you throughout the years and understanding like the kind of things you were going through. I kind of wanted you to tell your story and lay the groundwork about where you came from, and kind of the work you're doing now, and kind of get into your experiences in the prison system, because it was life changing for you. So if you kind of like give me a little bit of background on like where you from, what you used to be into, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. Grew up in a 2-parent household in South Nashville. 37 years old. I went to Hillsborough High School growing up. Was a star athlete growing up. Throughout high school, I received a lot of honors like All Mid-State, All City, All State. I eventually got an athletic scholarship, and I attended Tennessee State University on scholarship, football scholarship. And during that time, that's when my life took a change to kind of speed it up, or I ended up catching a drug-free school zone, which is a drug charge, which you seldom deliver within 1,000 feet of any school, library, daycare, anything. A family friend of mine that wore a wiretap on me, and we was involved in a drug transaction that landed me with 17 years at 100% on my first time offense.
Yeah, man. When I heard what happened, it was wild, because one, you don't think like in the neighborhoods that we grew up in, like that it's on some TV shit where cats is wearing wires and the feds is on your case, right? That's some TV shit. But like you really, you thinking, I'm just getting this off, to get some money or whatever the case may be. And you got a homeboy that's wearing a wire. That's like some TV shit, man.
Right.
If you don't mind, man, I kind of want to get your background on like your affiliation with the gang you was in, because I think there's a lot.
Oh, we got Arian froze. He froze up. But yeah. If you want to go ahead with that and talk about like how you got into gang activity and the places that took you and all that, that'd be great.
Well, around 2002, early 2000s, gangs that really hit Nashville really hard. And I was like a 15-year-old kid then, and living in the projects. I was living in the Edge Hill Apartments, which is the projects on the South Nashville side of town. The Crips and the GDs that became very popular in our neighborhood once guys was getting out of prison and things like that. And normally, I was not a fan of gangs at all, and I'm still not. But at that time, as a 15-year-old, I felt like I had to make a decision that was best for my family. So I decided to join the Gangster Disciples, now known as Growth and Development. And I felt like that with my impact in the community that I already had, that I could be impactful inside of the organization where the crime wouldn't be high, wouldn't be no robbing, there wouldn't be no killing. I was really trying to do the safe route for my family. But what I didn't know as a 15-year-old kid is all the dealings that the organization had around the country. That labeled me guilty by association, whether I was doing something wrong in terms of the game or doing the right thing. It wasn't the right decision to make. So later on in life, I paid for it.
Mm-hmm. So how old were you when you got arrested on that drug charge?
I was 22 years old when I got arrested. I was still in college.
That's quite a sentence to get 17 right off the bat. No priors?
So what happens is the drug-free school zone law is an enhancement factor. So if you get caught with drugs within a school zone, what normally would be an 8 to 12, a Class B felony that could have got probation, it's enhanced to a Class A felony, which carries, excuse me, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Which carries 15 to 25 years. So when I took it to trial, I got the mandatory minimum with 15 years plus 2 made it 17. So even without a criminal record, the school zone enhancement put me at that range to 15 to 25.
Mm-hmm. So you're incarcerated at the age of 22, and when you go into prison, what was your like introduction to prison like? What were the first 2 years like in terms of fitting in, figuring out who you're going to click up with, kind of like your role, what you were going to be doing, and just trying to get by?
I think the first 2 years, to be honest, bro, it was like I was in denial. So, when you lose these trials and these lawyers tell you that, oh, you're going to go on appeal and you'll be home within a year or so after you get the appeal. And the true thing is most people never get their appeal. So the first 2 years, it was kind of like I was in a daze just trying to adapt because I'm coming from college. Even though I lived in a housing project, I wasn't prepared for prison. I lived a good life for it's like doing what I was supposed to do, but 1 or 2 decisions, 3 with this guy landed me in prison. So I was really just trying to adapt on the move.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a pretty common experience for most people that have longer sentences? They get in and they're like, you know what? I'm not going to be here for the entire time. I'm working my way through the court system. We're going to appeal.
Right.
Do you think from the people that is that a pretty common experience?
Yeah, it's very common, especially when you go to trial, because most of the time you go to trial here in Tennessee, they're going to try to give you the more money you made them spend, they're going to try to give you the more time. So when you get into those situations, like I say, the lawyers play a big part. So you might feel like for example, I fought my case on appeal for 10 and a half years. I ended up serving 10 and a half years in prison.
Mm-hmm. I think we got Arian back. Arian, can you hear us?
Okay.
Oh, you're muted. Yeah, Arian doesn't pay his power bill, so it cuts out on him a couple times a week.
Y'all can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, so I kind of want to get back into what I know y'all was talking, but right. I kind of want to build your story a little bit, man, and kind of wanted to get into your background as far as the affiliations you was with, and because a lot of misconceptions about gangs and they role in the communities and stuff. So kind of wanted to get your perspective on your affiliations in general.
Okay, my affiliation, like I was saying, like in 2000, gangs hit Nashville in my age category really tough. So guys was being released from prison. It was Crips, it was Bloods, it was GDs. In particular, in my neighborhood, it was GDs and Crips. Now, like I was telling the guys, I've never been a big fan of gangs. But being a 15-year-old in that kind of position, you kind of look like survival mode. So it was more like with me being a leader already in the community, I said I would want to be involved to change it from within. Now, I didn't know the dealings that this organization had all over the country, and basically you're guilty by association. So when I made that decision, I did keep order within my housing project, like no robbing, no killing, go to school, try to do the right thing to make it better for our families. Because I wasn't somebody that lived in I wasn't somebody that visited the projects. I actually had to live there. So, a lot of people judge people by being gang members, but you never really know the environment that the kid lives in and what he has to do to survive. And I've seen a lot of dudes that was cowards really become problems in the neighborhood. So when I joined it, I feel like I was doing the right thing at the moment as a kid, but I didn't know the dealings of what I'll be held accountable for later on down the line, and then eventually caught up with me in the worst way.
Right. And that's the thing I try to harp on people who are just not knowledgeable about gangs in general. Like it's just not a group of like kids who just want to do criminal activity and they just want to, like, yeah, stupid people that, you got some knuckleheads for sure, but
Right.
it's a way of organizing in a way that doesn't have a lot of leadership. And it's no different than what the United States of America does, right? Gangs in our communities, in our small communities, they fighting for territory, they fighting for drug spots, just like, which is resources in our neighborhoods, right? It's the exact same thing in the US on a broader scale. And I know it's a hot issue, but it's they vilify kids and put them in these boxes, and they don't give them a fighting chance without even trying to give kids resources to, after school programs, stuff like that, to fund these kind of stuff to get these kids
Right.
off the streets so that's productive. So one of the things that I wanted you to talk on was like, how did you get, how does it come to, I'm in the neighborhood, I'm doing, what I got to do to survive in my projects, to the feds is on me and they paying one of my friends to
Uh,
wiretap me. And like how does it get there? You know what I mean?
I think with my situation was, it was more like the influence that I had. So at this time, I've been a high school football star with speculation of being the so-called gang leader, but there's no criminal activity tied to the gang. So I think when in all cases, sometimes it come an obsession with some of the officers that deal in the community to be like, I want to take this guy down and see what he really has going on. So what really happened was, the friend that wore the wiretaps on me, he was pulled over. And he was pulled over. This guy has a long criminal record, but I take accountability for my actions. But he was pulled over and found with drugs. Well, they let him go. Their whole thing was to get him to get close to me. So he agreed to do that. Now, if you read the case in the trial, black and white, it shows you that each time that I did dealings with this individual, I had to call somebody else. So it was kind of like I was doing him a favor. Like, he said he had a white guy that wanted some pills, right? So I called a guy. I called one of my friends to bring him the pills. Now each time that he's wired up, so the detectives is watching each transaction. So they let me do this 3 different times on 3 different days. So in over 2 months span, I did dealings with this guy 3 times. So when I was doing the dealings, they never arrested me. So what they did, they waited till they built up a case when I had done it 3 times, and they hit me with a thing you call sealed indictments. So what happens is, you have served or been involved with a confidential informant, you just didn't get caught on the spot. But it's either on wiretap surveillance, so they can come get you at any time. They really don't need the money that was involved. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So after he did this 3 times, I've never seen nobody in my neighborhood get hit with the drug-free school zone. That's why the drug-free school zone is so important in my case. They used it when they got me to basically be like, well, we got you on these drug deals, but if you cooperate, we can drop the drug-free school zone. So it's kind of used it as a tool. And since I didn't since I didn't cooperate, it was more like when I went to trial, I got the most years I could get.
Yeah. So did they ask you to wear a wire? Did they ask you to go after somebody that was bigger than you on like the national level?
Honestly, what's crazy, they used the drugs to wheel me in. They never asked me like who gave me the drugs. If you pay attention to what I just said, someone dropped me off the drugs. They never got that individual. They never even asked me who the individual was. I wasn't going to say who it was anyway. The first thing they asked me was, could you tell me something about GDs, Gangster Disciples?
Yeah.
So it was more like the crack down on gangs kind of situation. I think they looked at me like I was an athlete and maybe we can get some information out of this kid if it's a bigger problem around here. Because soon as, after my case, they end up indicting a group of individuals that was called the Bloods with 26 individuals. So the first person they got eventually became a confidential informant, and that would have been the same way I would have been with taking down this so-called gang.
Right. So you get to prison. Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
I was gonna say, like, so when you when they offer you that plea, or they offer you, to one of the things I'm intrigued with, because a lot of people, like, it's like culturally impacted to be like, yo, don't snitch, don't stop snitching, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Like I was trying to give, like, it's not, snitching only involves like criminal activity, if you're involved in it, then you ratting people out. But if you a law-abiding citizen, you see a
Yeah,
murder,
you're a civilian. Yeah,
say something. You know what I mean? Like you're not
yeah, it's
snitching.
different.
But I always wanted to ask you this, man. Looking back at it in hindsight, like, do you look at it as still like cooperating, or is it like a bigger part of a system, or do you regret not cooperating?
I most definitely don't regret not cooperating. My thing is I got to take accountability for my actions. And I feel like that's the problem with, like, when you got dudes out here doing wrong, I think that confidential informants shouldn't get the easy way out because they cooperated on one case. If you look at what's going on in our country, most of these guys are repeat offenders. And the law enforcers are making it worse because if I'm a repeat offender and I'm dealing with this other repeat offender, but since I cooperate with them, I get to go out there and live my life and still engage in criminal activity.
Right.
So, I was big on accountability. Did I think they over-sentenced me? Most definitely.
Yeah.
But I know it's one thing that the world has to realize, especially our culture. We're so big on rats and who's snitching and this and that. But if a person is civilian, they didn't sign up for the game that most people in the street signed up for. So if you get caught doing something stupid, I mean, that's accountability that come with it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can't get mad at civilians for saying that, okay, I seen this guy blow this dude's head off in broad daylight. That's not considered snitching to me. That's a law-abiding citizen. You just got caught.
And most of the, like I said, bro, most of the bangers that I knew, I grew up with, I've ever met, have that same sentiment, man. That same sentiment. The street shit is a different world that you sign up for.
Right.
I kind of want to like move into like, all right, you get caught with what you get caught with. You decided to take accountability, and now you find yourself in prison. Now you find yourself, and them bars is real. Them still bars, man. So like, what is going through your mind when you inside? Like, what is it? Because I know there's a lot of myths. I done heard cats like, one of my homeboys' dads was like, man, you got to punch the first nigga you see to show him you ain't cutting. I'm like, nah. What's the environment like, and what's your mindset?
Okay, the environment is like, the movies lie to us a lot. Like, for example, to each his own, but guys are not just coming in spraying on the first guy. You feel what I'm saying? That's kind of asking for it. But one thing I did realize was, like, I was a real athlete at heart. I just adapted to my environment and made decisions that I shouldn't have made. So when I get inside of here, I kind of find out that this is like a lifestyle for majority of these guys. You know what I mean? Like, I was out there playing sports, going to school, and I just got caught in a situation. But some of these guys are criminals, like real life with that. So, I think the biggest thing I learned off RIP is, like, when you're affiliated with anything, you're not a normal person in prison. So what happens is everybody else's problems become your problems. So if I walk on a pod, it could be my first day there. If the GDs get into it with another affiliation, I have to sacrifice whatever I got going on and get involved with that. And that's one of the things that wore on me from the beginning. It's like, I felt like as a man, you should be able to stand on your own and make your own decisions. But the politics are real big inside of prison that if you want to go in survival mode, you got to go with the flow with a lot of things that go on that you might not like.
Yeah.
What do you think influences my bad, PLT? What do you think influences the continuance of the politics in prison? Because is it because I know it's a war, but why bring the war in a box? You know what I mean?
But this is what it is. Some people that's in prison are never going home. Mm-hmm. So that is their home. You see what I'm saying? So the reason why they get favoritism or live the way they live, because they got to establish what goes on in there. So a guy like me and you, we get in and try to get out. You see what I'm saying? You want to make your time easy as possible. But a lot of guys, and then you got to deal with the guys that are really cowards and things like that they live off this. So gangs do run prisons. So, when I look back at it and I look at, like, why are we doing this or why are we doing that? Some of the people are looking at it like, why aren't we doing this? Because it's all about a stronghold and who could be more comfortable in here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like a battle within. And, like, one thing to the people that's watching that's never been involved with things like this, what makes prison so dangerous is you have nowhere to go. So if I was on the street claiming GD or Crip or one of these gangs, I can always go home and none of the gang members can know where I live at. But if you're in prison, you got to go to a certain cell. And now with all the devices they got in prison technology, they can find you anywhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
What
mean, yeah,
about
it's PFT. Go ahead.
what about individuals who are unaffiliated? Is it possible to stay incarcerated for 15, 20 years, be completely unaffiliated, and still have a relatively peaceful experience, as peaceful as you can have? Just get in, do your time, and get out, or is it really
Yeah, it
that
happens.
much more advantageous to link up with somebody?
Yeah, it happens, but you got to be like a strong-minded individual. Like if I go into prison, I got to know certain things that I can't do. If you're not affiliated, certain things you're not going to do. You can't make any money, so don't try to participate in drug activity. You can't meddle in people's business, so you got to be really to yourself. And even when you're doing that, you will run across situations just because of being incarcerated, bring certain things. But there are individuals in there that's not affiliated. But to give you an example, it's 64 rooms in a pod, right? So there's 2 people in each room, so it's 128 individuals in a pod. If you go inside of a prison right now in Tennessee, out of those 128 people, you may have 15 that's not affiliated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not affiliated, when you go to lunch, whatever you do, you stay to yourself. All the other affiliations sit with one another. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you kind of miss
So
out on a
sometimes
lot
they
of
do it
human
for
contact.
bullies.
Yeah.
Sir, again.
I was saying you miss out. It sounds like you miss out on a lot of like interpersonal human contact if you're unaffiliated, because you kind of have to keep to yourself most times.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the safest way sometimes. Like because the contact, you can easily be like involved in some things you might not want to be involved in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, when you said like everybody else's problems become your problems, that makes a lot of sense, because now it's like
Right.
you can't just let that slide. And because I feel like it'd be much worse if you were affiliated and then you got in, you tried to keep your distance from everything that was going on with the rest of the gangster disciples, where it's like, well,
Right.
you said you claimed that you were a GD. Now you're really showing us that you're
Yeah,
not. Then you have much
exactly,
bigger
yeah.
problems than if you're unaffiliated from the start.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question about your gang affiliations when you're out of prison compared to when you get into prison.
Right.
So were the dynamics
Right.
between different groups the same in prison, or did you find out that some, rivals on the outside actually became allies in the inside? Like how much reflection of the outside activities were the same inside the prison, and what was like the presence of strictly prison gangs affecting the dynamics?
Well, one thing that's kind of what's crazy about it, bro, is like we can be on the streets, right? And you have 2 gangs going at it, and it never come to a common ground. When they see each other, they might shoot at each other, they might fight each other, everything. And they might go to 2 different streets or 2 different blocks, whatever they're from. Well, in prison, I learned from observation that you have to talk to the people that may be your enemies because y'all are in the same area. So if I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was on the south side, I may never see the opposite gang member on the east side. But if I'm in prison, I might be in the same pod as him. So what they do is they try to limit the confusion by if there's a big problem, maybe we can go one-on-one and settle this before we all got to get involved with some BS that y'all brought from the streets. So It's much more organized in prison because nobody can run. On the outside, they can go against the grain because they can go hide and do whatever they wish. So it's kind of like, man, prison is a lot different because everybody knows where everybody's at. There's no hiding, there's no this or that.
How does
go ahead, Billy? Go ahead.
how does the introduction of other gangs that your GD set might have not encountered in Memphis, but like MS-13 or the Arian Brotherhood, how does that affect like gang dynamics in prison compared to the outside?
Well, honestly, when I got to prison, I didn't know any MS-13s and things like that, but I met a lot of them. So the people that I didn't have to be around, because mostly on the street, your neighborhood's gonna be dominated by your own kind. So you never have to be around too many. Like, for example, there's a lot of vice lords out of Memphis, Tennessee. I've never seen a vice lord in my life before I got to prison. But when I got to prison now and I went down to West Tennessee, it was a lot of vice lords. So it's like you get to see different things because you got to know that this is not a county jail. So everybody in Tennessee from Knoxville, Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, so everybody's in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any like because like you said, it was in a county jail, and then you went to Memphis, and you get people from all walks. Did you ever run across anybody who you had it into it with them outside, and then the inside it kind of became cool?
Well, man, to be honest, bro, Aaron, I've never just really had a problem with a guy on my own.
Right.
Like everybody loved me from sports. I was a good dude. I always got into problems because I was defending other individuals.
Right.
So, for example, we always stayed into it with East Nashville as kids. So
Mhm.
we'll see them in the nightclubs, might get to fight with them or something. So when I seen guys like that in prison, it was more like we got to get an understanding now, because now we both in here. So it's more like, is that over with what we used to do, or do we need to go in the cell, or this, that, and other? It's kind of like you get understanding better in prison because we here. There's no way we can go.
One thing,
Yeah.
one
But
thing that I loved with Nipsey. I was listening to Nipsey interview a while back, and he was like, man, when I used to go on a mission or something like that, he was like, he said one day it just hit me, like I was running around, riding around, and like there was like he was like, I seen an Asian dude, a white dude, whatever. He was like, I wasn't looking for none of them. He said I was looking for somebody just like me, and that shit just hit me, and I know you that kind of dude, and especially the work that you're doing now and trying to change your community within, and trying to kind of rewrite some of the wrongs you felt like you did. Um, as you in it and as you transition it out, one, how do you keep your head throughout that whole process? Because I feel like you came out, like I knew you before, but like I feel like you've matured into a really good human being, dog. Like, which is to do that inside of the environment that you was in is like I couldn't even imagine, man. So like hats off to you for that. But like, how do you keep your head, one, and then two, what is your goals moving forward, as far as like community outreach, activism, and what are you trying to accomplish?
Right. Man, it goes back to, man, the way I was raised, man. Like in the beginning, like I told you guys, I came from a 2-parent household. Like my dad was a stand-up guy. My mom was a real woman and still is a real woman. My dad unfortunately passed away while I was incarcerated. But man, I knew right from wrong, bro. You know what I mean? I knew the right decision to make. So it wasn't me just falling so far away from what I was told. It was me just trying to take things into my own hands and trying to create a good environment that couldn't be any better. You feel what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
When I was in prison, it's more like I stayed focused in prayer, bro, to be honest, man. You know what I mean? I feel like the universe just had this calling on me to keep me out of situations to be able to live, to get out of that. The people that got killed doing gang wars and things like that. Yeah. And I always kept like a grown man approach about me that, like, even when people weren't the same affiliation with me, they still respected me. You know what I mean? I treated everybody right. So it was more like, it was times, bro, when I be in the cell, and I ain't gonna lie to you, bro, I don't start with nobody, but I know it's at a point where it's finna boil over. Man, I pray. You know what I mean? God, let me make it out of this situation, man, and this, that, and the other. And that's when I got to the point I prayed and just like, man, if I can get out of this situation, I'm going to put myself back in this situation. So, just prayer and family and knowing what I got to lose, because in prison, they got a thing called annexes. So what annexes are is people that's with good behavior can go to the annex. So I peeped that out when I got to prison, and most of the violence go down on the regular compounds. But the people at the annexes kind of had the same mind frame about going home. So I spent a lot of my time at annexes trying to stay away from those situations, because I was mature enough to know, I mean, tough guys die fast. So I'm not going to stay in this situation to try to prove that I'm a tough guy. You know what I mean? It's just something I wasn't going to do. So, I just say prayer, man, and just favor. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
No, I appreciate it.
And I'm sure the nickname Big Fridge helps out, where you don't have to prove that you're a tough guy. It's like, oh, that's Big Fridge. I'm not going to fuck with that guy. Like, who are you going to fight with? Big Fridge? Oh, man, I'd like to help you, but not Big Fridge. How'd you get the nickname?
Well, my dad was a huge fan of the Fridge from the Chicago Bears. My dad, TSU alumni, Richard Dentman, went there. So he became a fan of the Chicago Bears. And I was born in 86, where the Fridge won the Super Bowl in 1985. So I was born right after the Super Bowl, and he nicknamed me the Fridge from day one, from William Perry.
That's great. That's cool. So, so while you're incarcerated, I'm curious to know about the dynamics between the prison and the prisoners, the people that run the prison, the correctional officers, all that.
Right.
Because I know that there's sometimes complicated things that happen. Maybe you get a CO that's secretly doing stuff to help people smuggle contraband and things like that. Were there correctional officers that you ended up being friendly with once they gained your trust, or were the COs always like, keep your distance from the inmates, don't let them become friendly with you because they'll use you?
Right. I actually became friendly with a few of them. You feel what I'm saying? But in prison, you got to watch that friendly word. Like, you don't want to be hanging around the guards too much, because if something go down, they're gonna say like, well, such and such hangs around them. So once my reputation got built enough that I was a stand-up guy, if it was an officer I knew, it was cool. I'd sit down and talk to him. Officers really interact with inmates a lot because they're so much with us. You see what I'm saying? So, they find the ones that just really cool with. You got officers that do what they do for us, like you say, the illegal part. I just try to keep my nose to myself. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a world within a world, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to realize that those officers are there with those inmates probably 10, 12 hours a day. So the inmates live there, so they wash, they clean. The inmates do everything in prison, the kitchen, everything. Nothing. All the guards do is secure the area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I wanted to circle back on kind of like what you got moving forward, man, because they know that was a
Right.
big blip in your life, man. But I think what makes you so intriguing is the fact that you got up out of there with your head and you active in trying to change things, man. So what you got going on now?
So now, while I was in prison, I started my nonprofit organization called Positive Inner City Kids, like Peak Organization. And my mission was to equip the kids in those kind of environments that I grew up with the tools to be successful, whether it was sports, mentoring, events, anything that I could do, feeding them, man, I'm talking about housing, whatever I could do to make them guys know and them kids know that, like, your address don't determine the outcome. That's an excuse a lot of us make that, I grew up in this area, so it was hard. Yeah, it's going to be hard. But, this organization that I got now is showing these kids in the inner city they can be anything they want to be in life. So when I got out, when I was finally released, man, we hit the ground running, man. I got a grant right off from your partner, Ramon Foster. He played with the Pittsburgh Steelers at that time. And it put my organization in a position to help the community a lot. So, I started working at the juveniles, and I'm working at the juvenile now as we speak. And it's like teaching the kids that you don't have to go through what I go through, man. I'm going to tell you what you need to know and what you need to do. You feel what I'm saying? It's kind of like catching them before they get started, man. And I made it a point that the drug-free school zone law was unfair. That when we was catching these cases, like, the school zone was closed. Like, I called a case at 10 o'clock at night. There's no kids around. So I got with a group out of Washington, D.C. called Families Against Mandatory Minimums and lawmakers down here, and presented like a new drug-free school zone law, that it shouldn't just affect people in the summertime and things like that. Now, if you're dealing with the kids directly, that's an understanding, you know what I mean? But now that law eventually got changed when we went in front of the legislature, so that affected like 334 people's lives at that time. So I got out early through a federal judge overturning my case due to my lawyer being ineffective. And I still went back and helped change the law that incarcerated me. It's not saying the law was wrong because I shouldn't have had drugs, first of all, but it's saying that we shouldn't punish people that's living in urban areas when there's a church, a library, and a school on every corner in the projects. Yeah. Everywhere across our country is a church, library, and school in these Black communities. And I feel like it was a law that was targeting certain individuals, and I had to get rid of it. So now, I'm a criminal justice advocate in my city. I got one of the biggest nonprofits in my city, and every day I'm dealing with kids in everyday life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. How do you get through to?
Amazing, man.
It is. It sounds like you're doing great work. How do you get through to a kid? Because kids are headstrong, right? It's hard for them to listen to what an adult says, because when you're 15 years old, 16 years old, you've got it all figured out. You think you know what's best for you better than anybody in the world. Right. And so if you have people that are trying to make a difference, trying to tell you to do something, how do you get through to those kids so you're not coming across as like an authority figure that they, they deal with countless authority figures in their day-to-day lives that they, tune out. They don't really listen to what they're saying. How do you break through that and actually get a kid to understand, hey, I've got your best interest at heart. This is what you should be doing?
So that's when I found my calling, man. That's when I found out my calling. My true calling was when I went through was to be able to stand in front of these kids and show them that I've been through the same thing you went through. I went through because the main excuse kids are gonna make is you don't know what I'm going through. So me and all of y'all can be in front of some kids. They might listen to me if they on the BS because they feel like, oh, he went to prison. Like so many people get out and glorify the bullshit of, the BS of prison.
You can
So,
cut, fam. It's all good.
I was in that position that I didn't glorify nothing. So I get through with the kids about letting them know I understand what you're going through, but I ain't gonna tell you what to do, but I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen after you do this. So sometimes they accept it more coming from somebody that's been through it, even though it don't make it like right that they ignore the people that hasn't been through it, because most of the time we're saying the same thing. But like with these kids today, what I done learned, bro, is like they want to see what you have been through. Like, if you're going to try to help them, what have you been through? What can you do for me or this, that, and the other? So, with my experience like that, that's the best thing I hold against the kids and hold them accountable on. Is like, you're not doing nothing that I haven't done, but I'm going to tell you the results of what's going to happen. And some will listen and some won't. But, just by me going through what I went through, I would be wrong not to tell them how this is going to end, because it's going to end one or two ways.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love that, man. I love what you're doing, man. Like I said, I think just the fact that you was able to do it, go through what you went through and then come out with the mindset that you did is just beyond me. Something I'm not sure the majority of Americans and myself included could have done, man. It takes a very strong individual, man. Yeah. Big T, you got something, man? I know you
just real quick. Obviously everybody has their own notions of what prison might be like, but nobody knows till you get there. Yeah. What's one thing that was worse than you expected and one thing that was not as bad as you expected?
Well, the worst thing is most definitely missing my family, man. But I'll tell you something what tripped me out. Like, you got these tough guys in the streets and people that want to be in the streets. The main thing they don't want to do right as kids and adults when they're in the streets is go to work and go to school. So I was surprised when I got to prison, even though I was a high school graduate, that everybody in prison either works or go to school. So, and when you work, you get 17 cents an hour. If you got a good job, maybe you get 34 cents an hour. So when I seen the price that we get, like the wages that we get for hard work, and it be hard jobs, it made me appreciate more like getting out here and finding a job and knowing what I'm blessed on. Like jobs in prison honestly paid 17 cents an hour, 34 cents an hour. And when you at 34 cents, you like, that's a good situation. So that's some humbling experience that I went through. Now, the thing that wasn't so bad was like, you see so much on TV about like how to come in prison, right? So it's always like, for example, man, you got to do this, you got to spring on the first guy, you got to do this, you got to do that. Really, it was kind of like, man, you bring whatever situation on yourself. So sometimes unfortunate things happen, but when I walked in, it wasn't no situation where I feel like my life was at risk or this, that, and other. It's just about whatever I chose to do, you're going to be accountable for your actions. Unfortunately for me, I was a part of something. I was affiliated with something at the time, so I had to take on all that. But if a guy make a mistake and go to prison, he's not fighting for his life as soon as he go in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Also putting that perspective about how you get paid 17 cents an hour, but it gives you something to do during the day, and people are either going to school or they're going to work. It also makes you think like the state is getting a lot of basically free labor out of all the prisoners that they have, and that would then give them a pretty good reason to keep people incarcerated, to have a big enough labor force to keep doing these things. Like what was the best job that you could have?
So check this out. When I had good behavior, I always had good behavior. When you get under 10 years in the Department of Correction now in Tennessee, you're able to go work at the governor's mansion. You can work on TDOT. You can work on at the Veteran Cemetery. You can work at all these outside jobs that benefit the state of Tennessee, but you're only going to get 50 cents, maybe this, that, other. The best job I ever had was we walked like 9 or 10 miles a day picking up trash from the side of the interstate. Now, that sounds insane to a person that's out here, but for a guy like me that's leaving prison every day, getting on a van and going out in the community, that was the best job I ever had in there. But like you go back to what you're saying, like the state get a lot of hard labor out of us. Like, bro, at the end of my sentence, I was at Riverbend maximum security. They brought back the death penalty while I was in that prison. So I didn't see with my own eyes, but I was in the same prison with a guy getting executed. So just keeping up the maintenance around the prison when it came time for that execution, it showed me a lot of things. Like it was big business. Like we had to get it perfect. This guy's about to die. And I mean, politicians was coming in, protesters was coming in outside the prison. It was really like a movie. And with me going from being a college kid to looking out my window, doing an execution and seeing a hearse roll out of the prison, it was a life-changing experience, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's
heavy.
heavy.
On the lighter side, what was the most valuable thing that you could have in prison? Like whether it was something you could get from commissary or I don't know, maybe you can just tell me like what was the best thing, the thing that you look forward to the most?
So check this out. In prison, you either can lay down or you can fight. What I mean by that is mentally. So what I did was, it was these things in college, and Arian don't know what I'm talking about. It was these things in college called 110s, where we sprint 110 yards and we got to make them in a certain amount of seconds. But the whole team got to make it in that amount of seconds. Bro, it used to kill me, man. It made me not like football. Like I felt like it was just some mental stuff that had nothing to do with football. So what happened was, for one time in my life, man, I quit because of that. Like, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get away from football. So when I went to prison, I always had that regret in my mind that I gave up on football. So back to what you're asking me, nobody in prison wants to go to the law library. That's how 110's in prison. So the law library is your freedom, bro. I had 17 years at 100% and got to change to 15 years. So I was scheduled to get out of prison in 2023, May 16th. I was arrested May 16, 2008. I was going to the library on the regular, like I'm running 110s and fighting my case. And eventually, by that dedication I did of going to the library, finding that love for people, for stuff that people didn't like, a federal judge overturned my case in 2018 and I came home. But it was them 110s that pushed me to that limit to be like, I never quit again. So that was one thing in prison I made up in my mind that I wasn't going to do was quit. So that's how I ended up getting out 5 years early. And due to me dedicating myself to that, now I got 3 kids. I got a wonderful girlfriend. My family is still here. And it's like, it took that dedication of me doing the things that people didn't want to do.
That's good. Yeah. I love that answer.
What if you could change, like, what's wrong with public defenders, man, in a small, you know, in a nutshell, like how would you do it? What do you think is wrong with that system?
Well, I think the system is built like, you know, most public defenders, some of them are okay, but it's like the people that really need the help with these cases are high-paid lawyers, bro. Right. So my case could be simple, but if I don't have the funds to afford a lawyer, they're going to give you the mediocre type of lawyer, or a lawyer that's trying to prove himself, come up with this and that. I feel like it's based on your income, bro. So if you ain't got the money to afford lawyers, you won't get the best representation. And I think what they should do, they have a thing called, I forgot the name of it. But it's called like a lawyer can represent you and the state pay them to represent you. So you got these high paid lawyers that got to do state cases, a certain amount of them, a month or a year or whatever it is, that they can represent you. You get court appointed. It's called court appointed. So the court can only appoint you lawyers, but it rarely happens. And public defenders, like, it's people that don't went to trial for murder with public defenders. There's people that don't went to trial that was innocent with public defenders. And you got to realize these public defenders, bro, have 20 or 30 people on their caseload.
Right.
So they probably won't even know who you are. They just remember your case when they read it. So if I could change anything, I'll make the judges make the high-paid lawyers do more community work than what they're doing.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, Billy, you got something else?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Being away from 2008 to 2018, did you say?
Right.
What was the craziest thing that changed about the outside world that blew your mind when you got out?
Man, phones, man. Phones can be the craziest thing. When I went to prison, like, we had flip phones.
Yeah.
So when I got to prison, in the years of technology changing, we got to the point we can see each other the way you are now. So that was the big change for me, like phones and Nashville, Tennessee changed as a whole, like so many buildings and all that going up. Like it was like mentally like something I had to get through because you got to realize most kids when I left, like my little stepdaughter when I left was 4 years old. When I got out, she was about ready to graduate from high school. So, just seeing people that you ain't seen and seeing how much the aging is doing is really lets you know like how long you've been gone. So, a lot of that play a role in a lot. Like kind of like people being like institutionalized. Like they use the word institute. Now I won't say institutionalized. I say, kind of like a PTSD kind of thing. You know what I mean? You go through so much and then you come out and so much has changed. Like for example, 2008, Aaron, what year you go to the what year you go to the league? What was that 2000?
That was my last year. 2008 was my last year at Tennessee.
So check this out. Me and you graduate together in 2004.
Yeah.
You go to UT. So I'm seeing you ball out at UT, and then I miss all your years with the Texans.
Yeah.
By the time I get out in 2018, you done won NFL MVP, everything, and then it's like I missed it. It's like a big blur. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So
but you get out and you're like, what the hell? Tom Brady's still really good.
Yeah. yeah. Most definitely.
So do you do any kind of like? I mean, I'm sure you do because you, like I said, man, it's just being around a lot, knowing a lot of cats that been in and out, and like you just got your head on a really good place, man. Do you do any kind of like therapy or how do you keep your mental strong? Post,
man, a lot of like you say, man, I deal with a lot of guys that's in and out, man. And like I've been like the standard of what like they show me much respect. I get a lot of conversation from them. They kind of like follow my lead, but I just think like meditation, man, and like just tapping into those things about the body and the mind that I wasn't normally tapping into, man. It's like constantly trying to change and get better, man. You know what I mean? Where I can be better mentally. You see what I'm saying? Because the world don't wait for nobody. So, now they got to the point, Arian, that, bro, I don't even eat meat no more, bro. Like for the last 60 days, I cut out meat. And I just want to see what it'll do to my body and mind, bro. Because, I was 380 pounds 2 months ago, 384 pounds. I'm down to like 358 now. And it was like, I looked at my kids, bro, and it was like, I'm not going to live to see them get grown, man, if I keep these kind of habits of eating habits and not taking care of my body, this, that, and the other. And it's just like, that's a part that I do. Like now it's like a mental challenge for me to get better in every aspect of my life, basically, man.
Mm-hmm. Man, I love it because I was like, cause I know you looked at it in your family as the strong one, and you made it through all of this. You know what I'm saying? And everybody in their prospective families, like that, I know, all my dogs, like, but they all the strong. We all the strong ones, but like, ain't nobody ever checking on us. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever tapping, but man, you all right, bro? Like everything all right? So like, I try to make it a point to be like, make sure you're taking care of yourself, dog, and it's all right to feel something. You know what I mean?
Most definitely, man. That means a lot to me, bro. You know what I mean? And just to know, bro, like with the decision I made, bro, that means so much to me. That I know you always been a solid guy, bro, but like so many people judge you after you go to prison, bro. And for you to be a friend of mine and still the same friend today, regardless of what I went through, bro, that means a lot to me, bro. Like for real. Because a lot of people that started with me, they're not with me now. You feel what I'm saying? So appreciate that.
No, it's love, man. I'm a big critic of the system in general, and I know how, like, I'm not from your neighborhood, but I'm from a similar neighborhood where we didn't have much going on, and I got lucky. I was good. I got lucky. My dad pushed me to no end, and I know a lot of cats that didn't get the same luck that I had, and got some bad breaks. I got a couple homies that went in for the same amount of time, like. And so I know, like, you're just human beings that just maybe got caught up into some shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the system don't do you no favors ever. So, no, so I love them. I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you sharing your story. I think it's a powerful story. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, we'll put your socials on. Reach out to your foundation if anybody wants to help. Definitely. I'm definitely going to come down in Tennessee in a few weeks. Hope to see you, dog. So,
definitely.
Yes, we appreciate you. So, if anybody else got anything else, man, I'm gonna let this man get on.
If you want to shout out the name of your foundation, is Positive Inner City Kids. Is that it?
Yeah,
Pick?
Positive Inner City Kids. We have a website at positivinnercitykids.org. My Instagram, I'm under One Teen Fridge, the
Okay.
number one. My Facebook is Calvin Fridge Bryant.
All right. Well, yeah, go check it out, and thank you for coming on the show. I'm really glad that you did those 110s. You get extra years with your kids, and also,
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way: you probably met some kids in those years where you were on the outside, where you affected their lives because you were able to get yourself out early, and you made a positive domino effect that way. So I was real glad to hear that story. That's a cool story, man.
Oh, definitely. Appreciate it, man.
My man, take care, my G.
Okay, that was Big Fridge. Aaron, thank you for bringing him on. Dude seems like a very positive person. Check out Positive Inner City Kids, the Pick Foundation. It sounds like he's turned his life around, trying to make a difference. I will be making a donation to Pick, and if anybody out there is interested, check it out. Check it out online. See what else they have to offer. All right, voicemails.
Hey, Macrodosing, this is Bobby from Oswego. I was just at a cousin of mine's wake, and his family set up an old-fashioned popcorn machine and was just handing out popcorn to people online and sitting around the funeral home. So my question to you is, what's your weirdest thing you would want at your funeral or wake? I have two. First one is a bunch of lookalikes of me spread out around the funeral home for people to walk by and come across. And the other one is hiring the second family to show up, make a scene. Let me know what you think. Stay handsome, stay gorgeous. See you later.
What was the second one?
He hired a second family to show up.
That's hilarious, dog.
The popcorn is a great call. It's a good thing to do.
Wakes are fun.
All right, that's a take.
No, wakes. We had this conversation, how wakes are fun because fun is not the right word. Yeah. Like you can get hammered at a wake.
Yeah.
That's like totally allowed.
Yes. Yeah, definitely alcohol is one thing.
I have never seen alcohol at a wake or funeral in my life.
Well, you probably have only gone to funerals.
No.
Is there any Irish Catholics in your family?
No.
Yeah, the wake.
What about like the get together afterwards? You didn't get together.
I've never. Maybe this is a northern thing. Never seen alcohol.
That's like a Baptist.
Yeah, what the Baptists do is instead of alcohol, they just have a shitload of casseroles.
That's for sure true.
All the casseroles you could ever hope for: broccoli cheese, green bean casseroles, wild rice casseroles, you name it. They've got just a table stacked with casseroles. I would say I like the idea of having a second family, hiring a second family to show up and just shock everyone.
That's hilarious, though.
Yeah. What was the first idea that he had?
Look-alike cutouts.
Yeah, lookalikes.
No, like actual lookalikes.
I didn't know that. I thought he meant like cardboard cutouts.
No, people, which is even more hilarious. Like just trolling your family and your loved ones.
Yeah. Coffin flop. I would have a coffin that had a very weak bottom to it, like in I Think You Should Leave, where they pick me up and my body just falls through as a joke.
I would like have you seen the trend going around of fuck it, whatever highlights with I'm a Boss by Rick Ross playing in the background? I would like a projector with fuck it, Big T highlights going.
That would be dope.
your biggest hits?
Yeah.
I like that. And it would
high school highlight tape.
You should have the cough after the cigar.
Yeah, maybe that song actually in the background.
Oh, speaking of songs in this show, Arian, tell us what's coming up for Halloween because the people want to know. I saw somebody ask you about this online the other day. What's going on with Knock Knock, Arian Foster's smash hit Halloween song?
Yeah, so it is the single greatest Halloween song of all time, in my opinion. Fire concept. My kids killed the execution. And so what we did was I'm getting it mixed and mastered, and then we're almost wrapped up. We have an animated video that's gonna come out with it. And so we're gonna have it streaming on all platforms. We'll provide the link and stuff. It's just a dope. Like I got so much good feedback from my kids. I asked them if they wanted to put it out. They were like, hell yeah, because they want to listen to it on their devices, So so we're gonna put it out. And it's gonna be a little video and stuff. So it's maybe like a week before Halloween we'll put it out. And then a little teaser, and then we can put it on all over the socials so y'all can see it. So it's gonna be dope, man.
It's a great song. Can't wait to see the video. I think I actually going to incorporate this at my funeral or wake. When I die, I want people rocking like Hawaiian shirts. It gives a better vibe to the situation.
Yeah, so I actually
Yeah.
I told my mom, well, hopefully, no parent should bury their child, but I told my people that I love, nobody's allowed to wear black at my funeral. Like I'm hiring 2 Samoans, big ass Samoans, and if you enter or you try to enter with black, you can't get in. So no black at the funeral, and everybody gotta wear Chucks because that's my favorite shoe. So everybody gotta wear Chucks, and they better not bury me in no fucking suit. I have strict instructions not to bury me in no fucking suit because I hate suits. I didn't live with one. Don't let me die with one.
That's cool. I like that. Also, I'm gonna get strippers.
That's fire.
Yeah, and then they're gonna come over and give me a lap dance in my coffin.
Oh man, that is crazy.
Open casket, and they'll just twerk on my face for a little bit. Maybe I get some rigor mortis going. Who knows? There's definitely been funerals with strippers, right?
I mean, there has to.
I saw a video of someone twerking on a casket.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so it has happened, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
send me off the right way.
Party it up, man.
A celebration of life.
Celebration of life, yeah. But no matter how often you say like I want it to be a celebration of life, people are gonna be sad there no matter what.
Yeah.
But I think that like you're talking about with the Chucks, the Hawaiian shirts, it just puts people in a like slightly better mood to see colors everywhere.
I want a space Viking funeral where they shoot me into space while I'm on fire and blow up.
Okay.
If we could make that happen.
Yeah.
Like I seriously want that to happen.
Yeah.
It'll probably be expensive. Hopefully I have enough money in my will to do it.
Shoot Billy into outer space.
And just
I'm okay with this, Big T. Big T just sent a picture of him in a Hawaiian shirt with these really cool glasses that I'm seeing are making their rounds around. But what are those called?
Pit vipers.
I bought fake ones as a joke in Puerto Rico last year.
I'm seeing they are kind of taking over the sunglass game. But he sent the picture. He said I'm showing up to Arian PFT's funerals. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's when I was on island time.
Yeah, I like it. Big T, permission granted.
Oh, also, a vlog's coming out on the Macrodosing YouTube. Stay tuned. Don't know when it's coming out, but it was a fun time.
All right.
Mad Dog, Mackenzie, and I just ran around Chicago and did some very interesting things. We looked for the smiley face killer and Chonkosaurus and went to some very important historical sites.
I saw you in several parking lots.
Did you go to O Block?
No.
I wasn't allowed.
That was on the list, though?
It was on the list. Well, there was a lot of gangster spots I wanted to go to, and I don't discriminate. I was going to do.
They ain't gonna do nothing to you, man. They see y'all pull up. They ain't gonna do nothing. Don't do nothing crazy, but they ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't gonna fuck around. They ain't gonna fuck with Billy football, man. You don't
I know.
You ain't in that life, man.
It was more if anything did happen and it was my stupid idea to go there, I wouldn't feel good about myself, especially bringing Mackenzie and Mad Dog around.
Or if you got caught in like an active situation that didn't involve you.
Or like, hey, that's an expensive camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was holding it.
And Mackenzie was holding it.
Yeah.
Then we lose all the footage.
Yeah.
You can have the camera, but can we keep the SD card?
They probably would have considered that.
Can we film this?
Yeah.
Like, what do they want an SD card for?
Can you jump me on camera? Just like it would make the video go crazy.
Yeah. There's a specific brand of YouTube page that like I'm always a little bit uncomfortable watching, where it's people that just do like they call it ghetto tourism, where they just drive through bad neighborhoods and then they get out and they're like, hey, tell me about your neighborhood. And then usually like a group of people come over and they start talking about how dangerous their neighborhood is, but they like use it to like flex and talk about like their set or whatever. It's always like, really strange to watch. But people like get off on going to these neighborhoods.
Also, those pranksters. Did you see that one prankster got shot by a guy in a mall?
That was in my hometown.
Isn't that nuts?
That was the mall that I went to growing up, like once or twice a week. I know exactly where he was, in the food court at Dulles Town Center.
And the guy's like not in trouble, right?
He got charged with something like
possessing a firearm.
It was discharging a firearm into a public building.
Yeah, in a crowded space or something. Yeah, but he's not like shooting the guy. He was fine.
He did not get convicted of assault or battery or whatever that was.
He's not even charged with it. I don't think.
I think the jury said that he didn't do it. So
I thought this just happened.
Yeah.
yeah, it did.
So
So,
then there hasn't been a trial.
well, no, it happened like months ago,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
and I think the jury came back with a not guilty verdict on it.
You could be related to this guy,
Let me
PST.
see. Let me see this guy.
He's got similar facial hair, a little stronger.
What, Billy? That looks absolutely nothing like me. But yeah, the YouTube guy went up to him in a food court and was like shoving his camera in his face, and the guy was like, "Stop, get away from me, stop!" And the guy started to follow him, and the dude just turned around, pulled a gun out of his waistband, shot him in the stomach. Which seems like a bit of an overreaction. Now
He could have shot him in the head. He showed restraint.
yeah, he could have just executed him right there. And don't get me wrong, like the YouTube prank video guys are some of the worst people on planet Earth.
The worst, bro.
Absolutely.
The
So
absolute scum of the earth. You are
It's fu-
fucking dog shit.
it's funny because you watch the video and you're like, oh, that guy got shot in the stomach. Good.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Because you're like fucking with people who got like real problems in real life, and you like just it's a bit, and like people really actually going through shit, bro. And here you come with your fuck. Here's a camera, bro. Here's a camera. I'm gonna fuck you in your camera.
This dude's was a door dasher.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
oh, he was at work.
He was literally picking up food in the food court to go deliver, and some guy was like playing some sound that said, "Stop thinking about my twinkle, dipshit." And the guy was like, leave me alone. And then he wouldn't, and just pop.
That guy's the YouTube pranksters are like the least funny people on planet Earth too. Like, what does that mean?
Whack. Shit
Stop
whack,
thinking
bro.
about my twinkle. That just tells me that you had no good ideas of what to say. So you're like, I'm gonna do something like completely random, and it's gonna be hilarious.
I even feel bad for like if you're doing on the street content. Like I never feel comfortable like going up to random people and being like, "Hey, here's a camera and a microphone in your face."
Yeah.
It's like the reaction to that from last weekend, that Ole Miss student who they rushed the field after they beat LSU, and this little 140-pound white kid was running up to all the LSU players going, fuck you, fuck you. One of them just shoved him to the ground. Everybody's like, good.
Good. That's good. I'm
Yeah.
glad that happened.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know what you're there to do.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be there. Yeah, the YouTube guy, he also had a video in the past where he was like, the title of the video was pretending to puke on an Uber driver. And it was the thumbnail was him like leaning over from the backseat of the car, like acting like he was going to throw up on the driver. Yeah, that guy's the worst. So the crazy thing is he gets shot, right? Lucky to survive. He's back on the grind. He's back making more YouTube prank videos.
I saw that, yeah.
Pranking my doctor after being shot in the hospital.
He should, he should go back to the scene of the crime, do it again.
You should try to prank the
Titanic
same
2.
guy.
Yeah, Titanic 2. Let's do it.
You should try to prank the same guy but wear a bulletproof vest.
That's what he should show up to the guy's house and like try ding dong ditching him.
Guy comes out with an
He's a
M16.
pussy. He's a pussy. And I mean, sorry, the bad version of that. He's
a pusillanimous.
He's a wuss. He's a wuss unless he shows up at the doorstep and keeps going after the guy that shot him. You gotta make it right. It's like Tosh.0 web redemption.
Guy unloads on him because if a guy's walking around with one gun, he definitely has way more bigger guns at his house.
Yeah. All right. We good? We good with one voicemail today? I'm fine. That was a good voicemail question.
That was a great one. Shout out to Buddy.
Great question. We'll see you guys next week. I'm not going to be on the show next week because I'm going to be in New York and we're going to be taping Surviving Barstool all week. So I'm going to be trapped in the New York office without time to do podcasts. Yeah, Billy?
You might be able to.
I just asked.
It-
it's
Yeah, the schedule is crazy. We're doing like 2 eliminations a day, and so it's going to be like packed with all these weird activities and stuff. So
Just say you'll do it anyway, just in case you get eliminated. You can just do it.
I'm not going to make any promises,
Okay.
but we will have people, maybe Chaps, maybe Donnie,
Sweet.
helping out. So I love you guys, and I will see you in a couple weeks. But the rest of the boys and girls will be here next week.
Thanks for having me in Chicago, guys.
Yeah, Billy, it's good to see you.
I have to go to the airport.
I
soon.
can't wait to see Billy's video.
It's something.
It's something. That's okay. Ringing
No.
endorsement.
Like we really got to the bottom of some things.
All right, cool. All right.
I was, there's a lot of 18 to 25-year-old white males going missing, and we got down to it.
Smiley face.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you guys.